Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself how many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for two Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
You know, like the Christmas channel on SiriusXM is not on my presets in the car. Okay, I'm not going to be someone who's going to drive around listening to Christmas music. I don't hate it. I'm not wearing my little fucking Santa cap in the car listening to, you know, Bing Crosby Belt Out White Christmas. You know what I mean?
Do you get any Christmas gifts, Joe?
Have I gotten it? Yes, Rich. I've received Christmas gifts.
Okay. It's like, Santa! And I was like, all right, we got it. Yep.
I was probably about 9 years old, and I received...
Is this best or worst, by the way?
This is bad, and you're going to see why it's bad.
Okay, all right.
The old LJN figures, I received Hulk Hogan and Big John Studd that year for Christmas, and I also received a ring. The problem, Rich, is my mother, in her confusion, she purchased the AWA wrestling ring. So I had to try to manipulate these giant WWE figures in the tiny AWA ring because, look, that's not my mother's. What does she know? She saw wrestling figures and a wrestling ring. I could see why she would think it would all go together.
Sure.
But it did not. But even at 9, Rich, or 8 or 9 or whatever I was, you would be happy to know that even though I knew my mother fucked up, I did not make her feel bad about it. And I've never brought up that she purchased me the wrong ring.
You should do it this year.
I should absolutely bury her 6 feet under. This is back for 30 years, but you need to know that that you bought me the wrong ring at Christmas 1987, and I haven't been able to let it go. And it is framed to it. It's the reason that I can't kink shame because you've ruined me, and I'm this man ruined mentally because you got me the wrong ring. You're right. I should bury her for that.
So they still know I watch wrestling, and pathetically, I'm still, despite being 30 years old, I still get gifts from my aunts, and they get me wrestling gifts because I'm a child. But they got me. I unwrap it, and it is the Triple H Blu-ray, Thy Kingdom Come, which there's a double edge. So okay, it's Triple H, and I wouldn't be. If you put a gun to my head and said watch Thy Kingdom Come, I wouldn't do it. But then two, even the idea that hey, it has matches on it, is lost because I have the WWE Network. You know what I mean? There's no need for me to have this DVD at all. It is still in the shrink wrap. It is in a drawer. I am never going to open it. But I was just kind of oh, yeah, great. And they're oh, yeah, I thought you'd really like that. And I was like, yeah, yeah. I never had to tell them, I don't want to watch a documentary about Triple H, and I don't need to watch the matches because I can just go on the network and watch them. And I wouldn't be bothered watching Triple H matches on my free time anyway. But thank you, anyway. So we talked about least favorite, which I think we both agree is that miserable Paul McCartney song.
It's the worst Christmas song that's ever been recorded.
It might be the worst song ever recorded.
I really don't want to hear about you creeping up on this fat, 8-year
right, yeah.
creepy. I don't want to picture sex with Santa in any form. It's a Wonderful Life is the worst. I am firmly in the camp that movie stinks. I never liked it from the moment I saw it. I don't like it. I think Little Drummer Boy stinks. And, my mother would make sure, you got, frosty gimmicks on, and we'd sit down, and I'm sure
I'm sure an exact quote from your mother was, the frosty gimmick is on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hark the Herald Angels.
I don't, yeah.
Bad Santa is the best Christmas movie. I love that movie. Christmas, the gimmick with the kid with the shoes and his mother's dead and all that shit, it's way too depressing. This show, let me tell you, we're putting over Bad Santa and Jingle All the Way and burying Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life. That is just so Voices of Wrestling. What else you got?
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast, our 2024 Christmas Spectacular, the Christmas Special. Joe, how are you doing?
Well, that's good that you did that special intro, because I think it answered about 80% of the questions we got, so we could skip them all.
Exactly, yeah. So we asked you to call, we don't have a whole lot of topics this week, because obviously this is a Tuesday show. We're recording this on the 19th due to the Rams and various other busy things going on throughout the holidays. So we're doing this on a Tuesday. There's not a whole lot of topics, so we did the call for questions, and it was fantastic. We have this long intro, and as I'm putting this intro together, I'm thinking, man, we're half these questions are done. Or this is essentially last year's. I think I added maybe one or two different clips. We had the same intro last year, but yeah, half the questions are like, "What's the worst wrestling gift you ever had?" I'm like, "Boom, there you go. What's the da-da-da? Boom, there you go." So yeah, we can just get to the good questions and not all the bad questions. So that's fantastic. Excited to open the Christmas mailbag later in the show. We did get some very, very good questions that I am very excited to break down and answer for the people. But yeah, this is a weird show. It's a Tuesday night. We're up against NXT head-to-head with Lexis King and Sol Ruca and the whole crew over there on NXT. So a tough competition, but hey, we're going to make it work here. We got enough I think we had a good amount to talk about on the show. But like we said, then we're going to open up the mailbag and have some fun over the last maybe hour and a half of the show.
Oh, hour and a half. Oh,
we'll see.
Tomorrow is the boy's birthday, which is why I could not do a show tomorrow either. So there's a lot going on.
Oh, I forgot he's got that rough back-to-back thing going here. I guess
what a shitty birthday.
He's got 5 days. That's okay. Like the nurse has 2 days, and that's just nobody wants to celebrate anything on December 27th. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to get dinner. Nobody wants to give gifts. So it's like, I guess the boy's got 5 days, but it's probably still not great either.
No, it's not great because he gets shortchanged on the gift, because we're definitely just grabbing stuff off the Christmas pile and giving it to him tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Right. You're not getting like special happy birthay wrapping paper, right? He's getting Christmas wrapping paper.
It doesn't but just from the standpoint of the gift, like he's just getting,
right.
We're just grabbing we're just pulling from, the Christmas pile to give him whatever tomorrow, but he does get to pick where we take him to dinner, as per the household tradition.
Well, I know you've kind of like sullied this port because he likes Buffalo Wild Wings to watch the golf, right? Isn't that like his favorite thing to do these days?
His favorite restaurant is indeed Buffalo Wild Wings, and he didn't pick it. We're not going there tomorrow. We were all stunned. Now this is a boy who obviously enjoys fine cuisine, and instead we will be enjoying the offerings from Golden Corral tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah. Nice. So, all right. Well, how old is this boy at this point? He's a growing young man at this point, right? So
he will be turning 7 tomorrow.
Oh, so okay. So that has a whole different connotation then, because I remember when I was young and I always had a choice to choose where we wanted to go for my birthday or whatever. I always chose Fuddruckers. I don't know. Did you guys have Fuddruckers by you?
Yes.
Okay, so now Fuddruckers, people that are not aware of the gimmick, they are now officially, I believe, completely gone. I maybe there's one or two still hanging around or whatever, but Fuddruckers, the gimmick there was you would order a hamburger and you would order your fries or whatever, and then you could add whatever toppings you wanted to your burger, and I thought that was the most incredible thing ever. So I would come back with these just fucking monstrous burgers or whatever, and that was kind of my gimmick for a while until I discovered the world of buffets. And then I was an Old Country buffet guy for the next 10 years of my birthdays, because I'm a growing young man. I'm not a very small child either. The idea of all you can eat was enough for me. It did not matter the quality. It was all about the quantity. Yeah. And I imagine that indeed is what the Golden Corral gimmick. So he's aware of the Golden Corral. He's gone there before, correct?
His grandparents brought him a couple of months ago.
And that was a revelation to him.
Well, he said to me today, he goes, I don't think we're going to Buffalo Wild Wings. I want to go to Golden Corral, because it's only the finest cuisine. This is like the finest cuisine for a 7-year-old.
He's like stroking his chin, going, I get one fine dining choice a year. I can either have boneless wings, get the boneless wings at the chicken nuggets or whatever, essentially, at Buffalo Wild Wings, or I can get that dessert bar at the Golden Corral. Yeah.
He doesn't even get he just gets tenders. He only eats chicken tenders wherever he goes.
We go in sauce?
No sauce.
We throwing sauce on there? Or
no.
No.
And no sauce. So I don't even know why he likes Buffalo Wild Wings.
Go anywhere. Go to the grocery store, for God's sakes. Yeah.
Well, no. Well, he rates the Buffalo Wild Wing tenders 10 out of 10.
Oh,
so he really enjoys those Buffalo Wild Wing tenders. But he threw the curveball. He said, "I want to go to Golden Corral." Then, because I guess he thinks like he's like worldly and I'm not, he says to me, "Listen." Now he's been starting to say "listen."
Oh
before
boy,
seconds.
this kid.
I don't know
There's another Joe Lanza being groomed over there, and I don't like it at all. I do not like this. He starts the sentence by saying, "Listen, listen, pal. Yeah. Listen, pal."
So he goes to me. He goes, "Listen, you can get whatever you want over there." He's like, "They got burgers, they got salad, they got wings, they got fried chicken." He's going through all these things, because he's like, to him, this is like some new discovery.
Right, and you're sitting there like, what? Excuse me? What if I want prime rib? He's like, "Listen, pal, you're not going to believe it. You got that too."
Yeah. He's like,
"You want
they
meatballs?"
got everything.
They got it.
They got, he's like, "They got everything. The pasta, they got everything over there." And I was like, all right, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I sold it. Like I've never heard of this of this magical place. I sold it like he was, like, because he's going to be all excited bringing us there. Like, me and TLB, like we've never heard of it before. So threw us the curveball. Now I did take him to Buffalo Wild Wings last week, so maybe he's over it for now. That could have been influential in his choice, because he was just there. But it'd be his birthday tomorrow. That's why there's no show tomorrow. Thursday, of course, Rams Saints, enormous game, just an enormous game. And we squeezed this in on a Tuesday, so here we are.
Yep, as such. Somebody brings up a great point in the note chat room as well. Ponderosa, did you guys have Ponderosas by you?
We had them in the mall. We had one in the mall.
Oh, I cannot imagine.
We had a mall Ponderosa.
A mall Ponderosa. That has to be so bad. Well, there was a couple years ago, I went to a Ponderosa. So my buddy and I, for New Year's, we decided to go to the Wisconsin Dells. My wife was working, the nurse was working that weekend. So him and I decided to go to the Wisconsin Dells and just go to indoor water parks the entire. This is, by the way, we are in our late 30s, or mid 30s, I should say, mid 30s at this point. And so we're at Wisconsin Dells, and we're trying to find somewhere to eat for our quote unquote New Year's dinner or whatever. And we don't really care or whatever. We find a Ponderosa. There's a Ponderosa still around in the Wisconsin Dells. That is, if you want to feel the saddest sadness you'll ever feel, go to a Ponderosa in the Wisconsin Dells at 10:45 on New Year's Eve. That is sad. It was me, it was him, a bunch of dudes by themselves, and like clearly like some families that were on some real hard times. And it was like, look, kids, this might be our only meal this year, so just let's enjoy it and go nuts. And that was just like, oh no, this is so sad. Why did we do this? And it was awful, and my stomach hurt the rest of the day. And it was not good.
So Ponderosa and Sizzler, I tend to get them mixed up in my head. Which was the one where when you walk in, you go through the maze, and then you have to order with a gimmick at the counter, and then you get a number to put on your table, and then they bring like your poorly cooked steak to you instead of like no service at the table, like you order with the gimmick up front. Like, was that Sizzler or Ponderosa?
See, I don't know that I ever actually went to a true Sizzler, so I can't. I don't know if I can answer that for you. Hopefully, that someone in the Noto chat room can let us know. I never went to a proper Sizzler, so I can't. I don't think that was the gimmick at Ponderosa. At least not this Ponderosa that I went to. This was kind of a buffet Ponderosa. Yeah, no, it wasn't
buffet Ponderosa.
Yeah,
okay.
I feel like maybe you ordered if you wanted you know what I think you did? If you wanted like steak, you could order it and they would bring it to the table, but then the rest of the accoutrement was all available via buffet.
Yeah. I think all Sizzlers and Ponderosas are just gone, right? Like they don't exist anymore.
I think this Ponderosa that I'm talking about is still for some reason alive, but I believe all the Sizzlers are now. Let me see if Ponderosa in the Wisconsin Dells is still around. It is. It is. It's got a 3.5 on the Google rating.
Well,
so
that's not bad. That's not bad.
So the most relevant says, Mama D, you were the best server we ever had. The food and the atmosphere was great. I hope we made your night with that tip. So I guess you are still served.
Oh, listen. Only Ponderosa would have a server named Mama D.
Mama D.
What do you have? What do you have, hun?
Yeah, what do you have,
hun?
Right.
Yeah. She's chomping on gum.
Yeah, I was making the backwards. Right.
She got the backwards fist on her hip. She's like, "What'll it be, hun?"
Yeah.
You know, she brings the drinks and she's got them in that bear claw with the hands right where you put your mouth. Like she got the eagle claw position on the drinks and she puts them down. You know, you're like, "Ooh, can I have a straw, please?" You know, her
God
yellowed
forbid you order
fingers
coffee. If you order coffee, she's just going to splash that shit on you all day because you're going to top you off. And you're like, no, I just had 2 sips. Let me have the coffee.
She's got her yellow tipped fingers from smoking Marlboro Lights right on the rim of your glass when she brings your drink, you know? That's Mama D.
Mama D, yeah.
You know? Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, she goes out for a smoke break like every 8 minutes. That's why she's chomping on the gum. She's chewing on Dentine because she thinks it's going to cover up the...
you can't smell her cigarette breath, yeah.
Right.
Even though she reeks of cigarettes, she'd smell her entire body smells of cigarettes. But Mama D,
it's the Dentine makes it worse because now you have a combo Siggy breath with Dentine coming at you, coming at your face.
They still sell Dentine? I didn't know that was still.
I don't know.
Is that
Mama D gets it.
Yeah, somehow Mama D. Hey, there's a Ponderosa still alive, and I'm sure she could find Dentine if she needs to.
If you're working at Ponderosa, you know where to find Dentine. That's how that works.
It's in the vending machine. You know those like weird vending machines that they have. Like some of the shitty restaurants will have like the vending machine with Mike and Ike's in there, and you're like, oh, these have to be from like 1996. These Mike and Ike's, like my god, gumballs
Hard
and
as a
Mike and
rock.
Ike's. You're like, get out of here.
They're like artifacts at this point.
Right.
There's always like the little independently owned gumball machine in every pizzeria that no one has put a quarter into since 2002. You know, and it's you ever get
it goes down the long ramp
helmets
too. It goes down the long ramp. It goes like yes. It's
the gumball machine with the little football helmets, and they're so old that like the Houston Oilers are still in there. You know, that's how old your candy is. You know, that's in the gumball machine. It's spitting out Houston Oilers.
Phoenix Cardinals gear. Yeah, you got Phoenix Cardinals gear.
Yeah,
Houston
Phoenix
Oilers. Oh, it's so good.
Phoenix.
When did they stop being that was like in the 90s, right?
It's the same. Like it was St. Louis Cardinals with Neil Lomax, and then the Phoenix Cardinals with like Tim Rosenbach, and then they changed it to Arizona. Basically, they're still the Arizona Cardinals now. You know,
I want to say it was like 92, 93, 94 that they were like, we represent all of Arizona now.
Eric Swan at linebacker, right?
Oh God. So yeah, it's gonna be one of those shows because it's Tuesday. There's not that much. We are gonna get to some wrestling topics. Fear not.
Keep saying that. There's so much wrestling to do.
I don't feel like there's that
all
much
day. You're like,
we
don't have too many topics, and I'm like looking at my notes. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
I don't know. Well, I don't have much, so hopefully you got more.
Like the Final Battle and the RevPro show, whatever that was called, and
Uprising,
all this
I believe.
stuff. Yeah, all kinds of shit to talk about. All this contract season stuff. So there's a lot going on. You're like, we don't have nothing. We're gonna do 2 hours of questions. I'm like, we're gonna go at least 90 minutes on Final Battle. Who are you kidding? Like, who are you kidding? Yeah. Oh man, I don't know why Phoenix Cardinals. I don't know why that sent me. Phoenix Cardinals just made me lose it. I don't know why. I'm tearing over here. I think I'm just in a silly mood. Maybe that's it.
Well, let's talk. Let's do contract season stuff first. Then we'll talk Final Battle. I think going into a show review is always kind of tough. So let's talk contract season. We'll start out with the big news that came out this week, or I don't know. Did it officially ever come out, or was it just kind of hushed in tones and weird? I want to say Sean Ross Sapp said that it wasn't official, and other people, whatever. Regardless, there's rumors going around that Kazuchika Okada, obviously New Japan's Kazuchika Okada, has hired Barry Bloom as his agent, and that would, if you don't know who Barry Bloom is, Will Ospreay recently used Barry Bloom's services to acquire a contract with
All Elite Wrestling. Barry Bloom has been around for many years. I think he goes back to Jesse Ventura, maybe was his first client in the wrestling business, but essentially an agent, sort of a go-between between wrestlers, obviously, and companies to get contracts, and has been doing a lot of work with getting guys contracts with AEW. So obviously, if this rumor is true that Okada has, acquired the services of Barry Bloom, it's making people think that perhaps Okada leaving New Japan, going to AEW, seems like a much more of a real possibility than maybe it was weeks ago, months ago, whatever. This Barry Bloom news, if true, does kind of change things a little bit. What did you make of it when you saw the rumors going around about Okada and Barry Bloom?
Well, if he's hiring Barry Bloom, he's not hiring Barry Bloom to negotiate a new contract with Bushi Road. Let's be honest.
Right.
Okay, that's there's no need to do that.
The Young Bucks also used Barry Bloom. Sorry, I was trying to figure out all his recent clients. The Young Bucks were also another one. The Elite, that whole Elite thing, when they all re-signed, they were all Barry Bloom guys. Omega, Page, Bucks, all those guys.
And as I would assume most of our listeners know, Okada is very close to the Bucks. They befriended him in TNA, and they've been friends ever since, and exhibited a lot of loyalty to each other ever since then. But if he really does hire Barry Bloom, it could be a situation where maybe Bloom is reaching out to him, knowing that he's got a free agency coming up and knowing that he could drum up some interest with the American companies. So, we'll see. It wouldn't stun me at all if Okada ends up with AEW. It would surprise me a little if he ended up with WWE. But again, it wouldn't floor me. And obviously, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he stays with New Japan. He's an enormous star. He's over the age of 30 now. He's done everything you could do in New Japan. He is married to a celebrity in Japan, so obviously that would come into play. He's not wanting for money, that is for sure. The question is, would his he has a child now, because that last year around Forbidden Door was right around when I believe his wife was going into labor and all that. So he's got a young child, of 1.5-year-old, 2-year-old. He's got a toddler. So does he want to pick up and move his young family to the United States? Is his wife going to be down with that? Is it a leverage play? I don't know. Who knows? Nothing would really surprise me at this point, though. So we wait and see. I think the bigger story might be, is this going to be an ongoing trend now where you have two American promotions with tons of television money to burn, competing for talent, and when there's a situation that there's a big Japanese star who becomes available, does sort of the talent arms race come into play even with the Japanese stars now? So, we've seen this before with people like Nakamura, and I think he just wanted to change the scenery, and I think he kind of knew he was always going to be behind Okada in the pecking order, so it was a good move for him at the time. And then we've seen it with some of the Westerners who have left New Japan, whether it's AJ Styles or Kenny Omega, all of the Elite, really. But this would be, by far the biggest Japanese New Japan star to leave, because he's a bigger star than Nakamura was in 2014 or whatever year that was.
Yeah, and that was even like an all-time move that guy would lead, because you go back into the history of big time Japanese wrestling and high level Japanese wrestling, guys will leave companies and form new companies. Obviously you have Tenryu leaving to form SWS, you have the Exodus, you have those sort of things. Rarely ever have you had a big time guy leave Japan to go to America. Nakamura was one of the pioneers
probably
in that.
Probably the
biggest. And Okada, it would be multitude times bigger than Nakamura was, because he's also been pushed as the top guy, like you said, for almost a decade at this point. Okada has been the guy. I mean, yeah, we're approaching basically a decade at this point. Is it 2023? We're going into 2024. Yeah, basically a decade plus that he's been the guy. So yeah, this is like a top guy, a guy that feels like should be a lifer that will now be, departing, if this is the case, or if this is true, or if he does depart or whatever. That's the biggest. It's absolutely 100% the biggest Japanese wrestler to leave the country to come to America to wrestle.
Well, there's a lot of money now, and he will absolutely get a 7-figure per year deal if he chooses to come to America, because both sides will bid for him. And the bidding, like we just saw, like with Ospreay, just got money, life-changing money, because he had both sides bidding for him. And the same would happen for Okada. And, a lot of times, again, now this is someone who his wife is a celebrity in Japan. He's been making big money for over a decade now. So it's not like, it's a situation where, where Will Ospreay hadn't really made the super big money yet. This guy presumably is financially sound, but still, money often talks. We all know that. So, we see what happens. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch play out. I think it would be an enormous hit to New Japan, obviously. They do have another generation of guys coming up, and, we'll get more into that when we preview Wrestle Kingdom in a couple weeks here. But, I don't know. If he does, in fact, hire Barry Bloom, and that isn't 100% confirmed yet that he has, then I think that would be an indication that he's absolutely leaving. There's no reason to hire the guy if you're not. You don't need him to renegotiate with New Japan.
Right. Barry Bloom's not going to sit down with the Bushi Rhodes executives and go like, all right, here we go. Like the tactics, you wouldn't do that. Okada would just simply say, or like you said, it could be a leverage play as well, where he says, I hired this guy, or, I got this offer, whatever, just to get New Japan to up their offer a little bit, which is totally reasonable and what you should do. And that's the good thing about having AEW. And it's a good thing of having a more competitive WWE that's more open to having Japanese wrestlers in their spot and are clearly doing stuff with Nakamura right now, I believe, as a little bit of a, hey, look, we're not totally, because Nakamura is being pushed as a top guy after, 4 years of basically floundering and doing basically nothing. They got him back kind of in a tippy top spot and trying to pretend that this is a guy that they're building around and really care about. That to me is an olive branch. That is. It has to be. I cannot imagine them not getting into a room, if they do get in a room with Okada, and saying, hey, look at your buddy Nakamura. We got him in. Or trying to just prove that, hey, things aren't like they used to be. We're different or whatever it may be. But like you said, when you hire Barry Bloom, that does feel very much like it's either you're doing that to scare New Japan into giving you a better offer, giving you points, giving you, some sort of percentage of the company, getting you an office job, an executive role, something like that, or you're trying to go to AEW and negotiate the best deal possible. Like that if that does become the case, that Barry Bloom was indeed hired, then that's, to me, that's what we're looking at. The WWE, that seems like so. I don't know. I would be floored. I would be absolutely stunned if Okada signed with WWE. And I guess I probably said the same thing when Cody went there as well, but that to me would be absolutely stunning. To me, it is New Japan or AEW for him. I think that's probably the play, but who knows? He might get in there and they might give him an offer he can't refuse, and he goes for it. But
I can't discount anything. But it's the thing is, Tony Khan knows perception wise it's bad to lose these. And you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. It's Punk. He won the Will Ospreay one, but then Punk made the jump, and it's kind of like advantage WWE, and the next big free agent we thought was going to be Sasha Banks. It appears as though Okada might be in play now as well. And, it looks like AEW may have lost their grip on Sasha Banks as well. Impact is touting that they have a big signing to announce in January, and they're touting it as a big one. I would not totally discount Sasha Banks for Impact. And the reason I say that, our TNA, I guess we're back to TNA.
Yep. Final Resolution is the final Impact. So, we're TNA.
Right when you get used to saying Impact, now you have to get used to saying TNA again. But as we know, they've made plays. They made plays for Will Ospreay and Punk to whatever degree they made those plays, and they basically have a fistful of money that they're trying to spend on a big free agent. We've talked about this before, so Anthem is in play for all of these big free agents, but one of them is going to take their money. At some point, someone's going to take Anthem's money. Someone's going to see the appeal in being the big fish in the small pond and making, 7 figures. Someone's going to jump on it. And I think Sasha Banks is someone who, look, if she was dead set against ever going back to WWE because of Vince, well, Vince isn't around anymore. Okay. So that would put WWE back in play. But if she's just dead set against ever going back there, right, then it really comes down to who? AEW and who else? She doesn't have any negotiating leverage at that point. She already did the New Japan thing. Let's be honest. That run was kind of a bust. Now that it's in the rear view a little bit, okay, she debuts at Wrestle Kingdom, and that was a fucking mess. Okay, that was
not
just
good.
Awkward.
Yeah, that was not good.
And a mess. She pops a little house there in San Jose. What'd that draw? 2,800. Let me pull that up.
I thought
Let's
it was
get the actual
27,
number on
28,
that.
but yeah, see if you can get the exact number there. But a decent house in San Jose. And at that time we gave it credit and said, okay, here we go. Maybe this is kind of the reset or the hey, maybe there's something here. And while this is all happening, for the record, getting paid a lot of money, more than that company is usually giving out to free agents.
And we actually broke that she had received an enormous sum of money for a short-term deal, and no one ended up disputing it, with the exception of Chris Jericho, who got angry because it was reported as Chris Jericho level money, and he got mad about that.
I forgot about
remember that?
Yes.
But no one else disputed it.
That's so good.
It was $2,155 in San Jose.
Oh, see, I thought it was even more than that. Wow. All right, $2,155. Yeah.
For the Mercedes Mone and Kairi Sane with the Okada Tanahashi main event. But, it was generally considered that because when they announced her, the tickets moved and it drew about 2,100 fans. Then, of course, she worked Sakura and that was a really good match against Kairi Sane. I thought that was the best match she had in her post WWE career. She had the 3-way in Korakuen for Sakura Genesis, where she worked in the middle with Hazuki and how do you pronounce that? AZM Azumi. Do you say Azumi?
Yeah.
Or
I think you say Azumi. Yeah, you say Azumi.
I didn't think that match was any. I thought that was like a 3.5 star match. I may have been the low person on it, but I didn't think that was any good. Then she worked the Stardom show with Mayu Iwatani, and that drew 5,500 fans. I am not qualified to speak on whether she was the drawing match. I know she worked in the semi-main event spot, but the Tam Nakano Julia match, I assume, was the drawing match in that show. Maybe you could spread the credit around, but that was a really nice house in Yokohama for Stardom. And I thought the match was okay. And then it was the New Japan Strong Show in Long Beach, where she got injured, where she beat Stephanie Vakir in the, that drew 2,900 fans. And, largely built around that tournament. So, it had the Will Ospreay Tanahashi match. I think it was the other match. Yep. And, so you want to give her credit for that one. That's fine. Another nice little house, but I didn't think the Stephanie Vakir match is another 3.5 star match. And then the Willow match, she got hurt, and that one you could throw out. But to me, she only had one great match. Now your mileage may vary. And I'm sure there are people out there who think all these matches were great. I thought the Kairi match was legitimately great, and I thought the other matches were pretty good. And that was it. So to me, I don't know if they got her. Now, look, there was the talk that she popped New Japan World subs, and I believe it, for the
that night of, for Wrestle Kingdom
for
for
Wrestle
sure.
Kingdom and in the first couple. Yeah. So so did they get a return on their investment? We'll never know unless we know how much they were paying her, which I was told, I wasn't given a figure, obviously, but I was told it was exorbitant amount of money, which it would have to be to get her to do it. So I don't think New Japan is interested in bringing her back, honestly, which should tell you whether they made money on it or not. Right? That should be your answer, right? So if they're not in play, that kind of answers that question. But circling back to my long-winded point here, she's got one of her closest friends is in Impact and seems to be very happy there. Right? And Impact has this wad of cash that they're begging to give to somebody. So what I'm saying is, if she's truly dead set about going back to WWE, that's why I think Impact could be in play, because she gets to be the biggest fish in a very small pond. She gets to work with her friend and get back on the road with her friend. And that could be, and it also leaves a lot of time for outside projects if you're working for Impact as well. Right? Where if she goes back to WWE, she'd have to cut a special deal, get a, if she wants to do outside projects and all that. But again, we need to know her mindset, what her mindset is in terms of returning to a Vince McMahon, a WWE where Vince McMahon is no longer, I don't know what her relationship is with Triple H, and I don't know if she's just completely disgusted with that promotion. And if she's not, then I would suspect that she's going back to WWE. But if she's dead set against doing that, I think Impact is legitimately in play. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I do too. And that name came to mind immediately when D'Amore was putting it over as a pretty huge signing, and you're not going to believe who's going to be here and that sort of stuff. Like, I know that he's a promoter and promoters promote, and that's a lot to say if you're going to bring, Dolph Ziggler in, FKA Dolph Ziggler in, or what, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. That's a lot, even if you're bringing in Mustafa Ali, you know what I mean? Like that's those words are I don't know. People were kind of getting on those, and oh, here we go, it's going to be something disappointing. I feel like Scott D'Amore loses a lot of credibility if, like Nick Nemeth walks through that door and it's just like, oh, that's not at all who. Like, it feels big. And then you had people saying, oh, is he talking about Matt Riddle? Now, Riddle's an interesting one that I don't think TNA is going to touch a Matt Riddle. Now, MLW, it's already rumored that they are working on maybe bringing in Matt Riddle, and possibly that he was already announced or something.
They
okay,
are
so
bringing him in.
So was he officially announced on that? I saw that poster going around.
Yes.
Was that an official poster?
I mean, he's on the poster. I would say that's as official as it gets.
Okay,
so
that was to me never the play for TNA. Like, I think that's a bad PR move. We've talked about Riddle before. I don't think that many people out there, your Joe Sixpack wrestling fan, really knows or cares about whatever Matt Riddle did and all. You know what I mean? Like, they're not. They might look it up and find out later, but I don't think that Joe Sixpack is like, oh no, not Matt Riddle on my TV. He's, I don't think he cares about that stuff, or he just doesn't know, or he's ignorant to it.
Okay, but it would be bad PR. The wrestling media would get all over TNA if they signed
and
her.
that's what I was gonna say. It's not worth it. It's not the reward of bringing in a Matt Riddle is not worth it for the risk that you inherit as a Scott D'Amore, who is very public facing, who is very media friendly, and goes on these shows. And TNA is trying to rebrand themselves, and here we are, and there's a whole new thing or whatever. It would be a very, very bad move to bring in someone like a Riddle because the reward's just not there. The risk might not be as bad as some people think it is, but I don't think the reward's there at all. So it's just not worth it. It's not worth.
You just don't want the bad PR,
right? It's just not worth the bad PR.
And a few years ago, they rid themselves of Michael Elgin and Joey Ryan and all these people, and they've kind of cleaned up their reputation from that standpoint as being kind of the place that housed all of these people who nobody else would touch. So to go back to that, I don't know. Riddle. If it is Riddle, I could see them promoting him as a big deal, though. You see what I'm saying? Like, I could see them, if they promoted Mustafa Ali as a big deal, I think that would fall flat for a lot of people. If they promoted Matt Riddle as a big deal, I think a lot of your common wrestling fans would say, oh yeah, that was a big deal. They did deliver on a big signing here. So I think he qualifies from that standpoint. I just, like you, I don't think he's worth it. And I don't think you're going to get a big return on your investment with Matt Riddle. I don't think he's going to make a meaningful difference in Impact. Whereas I think Sasha Banks would. She's going to go there. She's going to work with Trinity, either, whatever you're going to do there, form the team to split them up or just bring her in to challenge her right off the bat. Because isn't Trinity doing an undefeated gimmick? Isn't she like unbeaten since she got there?
I believe she is. I don't think she's
ever lost a match.
Yeah, let me clarify that, but I'm almost positive she is undefeated.
They push that she's never lost. She's the champion. So it's tailor-made, and Sasha Banks is someone else who isn't exactly hurting for money. So if she can get a 7-figure deal from Impact that's a little less than the 7-figure deal the other companies are offering, maybe that's good enough for her in terms of for her quality of life and the fact that she can work with Trinity and the fact that she could be the big fish in the small pond. I don't know. I just don't think I think it's possible that she's who Impact is talking about, especially now that there's all this talk that maybe things have cooled off between Sasha Banks and AEW, which it looked like that's where she was going when they flew her to fucking London and had her sit there.
They didn't fly half the fucking roster out there. Half the roster didn't get flown over there, but she got flown over there to sit on
which is going to be a point of contention with a lot of the people they didn't fly over. Believe me, that's a point of contention. But they flew her over to show her on camera for 15 seconds, which tells you that they thought they had something cooking. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done that. But now it seems as though that's cooled off. So, if it's Dolph Ziggler or any of these kind of people, I think that's absolutely would have to be considered a letdown. Now, you mentioned MLW. They're already booking Riddle. They've also, I think they're bringing in Sami Callihan as well.
Indeed. So, they are fresh off their settlement with WWE and have now announced.
And they're throwing some money around.
They are throwing money around. They're expanding their touring. They're going to have more shows. They're throwing some money at Riddle. They're throwing some money at Sami Callihan. They're in play for a lot of these guys too.
So, I mean, they must have got some kind of bag in that settlement because, their roster is dire. I mean, their roster was bare bones at this point. So, at the MLW level, even a guy like Sami Callihan for them is like a good get. And he's got all his boys there, right? Doesn't he? I don't even know if the whole, does he have a history with Ricky Shane Page? Why do I think he does in my mind?
Sami Callihan,
maybe not. Maybe I just feel like they would hang out.
They seem like dudes that would hang out. I have no
idea. They're both hot couch guys, is what they are. They're both hot couch guys, is what they are. So in my mind, I'm just putting them together.
They both don't like me when I make fun of how bad they are at wrestling. So I can tell you that.
Yeah, they both hate Rich Craich, which is maybe the connection
right.
I'm making there. But now Zack Sabre Jr. told Tokyo Sports that he's coming back to New Japan. So put whatever stock in that you want. I don't know why he would say that if it isn't true. Even though Tokyo Sports has been known to run angles at times, but what's the angle? What would be the angle of Zack Sabre Jr. saying, "Oh yeah, I'm coming back"? If he then signs with AEW or something, then he just looks like a dick for saying that he was coming back. So I would kind of take that. And then New Japan, they also re-upped with Access TV this week for 45 more episodes. So New Japan will keep their American TV presence, and we have the Wrestle Kingdom shows coming up, which traditionally do the biggest viewership for them, touching, over 100,000 total viewers for those Wrestle Kingdom matches. So, and of course, in New Japan, there's going to be a lot of other contracts coming up too, a lot that you'll never hear about because a lot of guys just quietly re-sign. We'll probably do the dance with the Tongans again, right? With
go, please go.
I'm begging all three of them to leave. I've had enough of all three of them. Just go to WWE already. So, we don't have to waste Shingo matches on you at Wrestle Kingdom, which just annoys the hell out of me. Did you see that El Hijo D. Dr. Wagner Jr. did in fact re-sign with Noah?
I did. Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I kind of thought he would apply his craft somewhere else in the next year, but yeah, re-upped with Noah. I mean, that's not a bad spot for him. I mean, he is more than likely to get pushed even higher here in 2024 as there, not a whole lot of high level guys, and he was great and he was a real revelation. So for him, I guess I personally would have rather seen him elsewhere, but that's a good spot for him. So that if the terms were decent enough, go for it. I think that's not a bad move at all.
It's good for them to keep that guy around because he was a real breakout guy for them. And, they haven't had look, let's face it. It has not been good for Noah since Muto retired. And that just would have been another little PR hit that they would have taken if they lost a guy who really developed, in their company over the last year or so, to just lose him to go elsewhere. So good for them for getting that done. And then there was a bunch of WWE moves.
Dom and Rey Mysterio re-upped. So if you wanted the Dom Mysterio war of 2024, not going to happen. He is re-upped. So
thankfully, I don't want to see Dom anywhere else that I have to watch. That's for sure. So that's good. And then the word breaking that Charlotte re-signed for allegedly more money than any other woman has ever signed in that company, which people are making a big deal out of. But where's the news there? Like, this is kind of like every time a quarterback signs a new contract in the NFL, everybody goes nuts because it's the biggest contract in the history of the league. Well, then the next quarterback who signs is going to have the big, because these things don't go backwards, right?
Also, in that company, Charlotte is fucking massive. She is an all-time legend that's going to break her dad's record. She's assembling just the kayfabe resume. The kayfabe resume for Charlotte is unmatched by anybody, especially any woman. It's almost unmatched by most men. So yeah, of course they're going to give her the most money. They think she's the top star. They shoehorn her into every single story. Anytime she comes back, she immediately gets put into the title picture. There's singles matches that don't need to involve her that they eventually evolve. That's always been the MO with Charlotte. So yeah, I cannot imagine seeing that news and being like, oh man, what? It's of course Charlotte would be the most.
Yeah,
paid.
Who was it going to be? Wendy Richter? I mean, but my point here is, so what? Like, if Becky's deal comes up, she'll then be the highest paid woman, and then you know what I mean. Like, that's just, whoever the next big star is who has a deal come up, it's going to top the previous deal. So it's like, and like you're saying, that's the level that they see Charlotte at.
Yeah, because I think if they gave both of them contracts, I think they would give Charlotte a bigger. I think even if Becky tries to re-sign in another year, I do wonder if Charlotte's contract would still be bigger, because again, in the way that company thinks, she's she's the pantheon. She's the top woman that they've ever had.
But the problem now is now Becky can just walk, and all of a sudden you have whatever her real name is in the AEW zone. So that's the thing. She could say, well, I want more than Charlotte, a year from now or whatever it is, and she'll get it. They're not gonna gift wrap Becky Lynch to Tony Khan. Okay, they're not gonna do that. They'll gift wrap some of these other people. They'll gift wrap to Adam Copeland, because they see his quarter hours. They saw his quarter hours up close and personal. They'll gift wrap some of these other. They'll gift wrap Andrade. You know what I mean? Or Miro or these other problems. They're not gift wrapping Becky Lynch to AEW. AEW is gonna have to work for that one. But yeah, the thing with Charlotte is, what's funny about that is you're absolutely right. The level they see her at, they see her as an icon and the greatest woman to ever work in the company. I don't think she makes any difference whatsoever. I think if Charlotte Flair retire tomorrow, there is no meaningful difference on their business at all.
No.
Like, they don't have to pay her anything. Like, again, it's not someone you want to moonwalk into AEW, especially with her father there. So you're not going to gift wrap her to the competition. But simply in terms of, would it make any, when she's away, I forget that she existed, to be completely honest with you. And she's away a lot.
And she's hurt again.
She's going to be away for like 9 months.
Yeah, she's hurt again. So it'll be 8 or 9 months until you see her again. And then she's going to pop up. You're going to go, oh, Charlotte's there. And they're going to shoehorn her into some random Mania main event that doesn't really need her. And then we'll rinse and repeat, and we'll do it all over again. And no ratings will move. No merch will move. No pay-per-views will change. Everything will be exactly the same whether she's there or not, as it always is.
Yeah, I really don't think you definitely don't get your return on that investment. I don't think she makes a difference at all. I don't think anybody really gives a shit about Charlotte. I mean, they push her well beyond what I think her level of a star power is, but they've just always seen her at that level, and she does carry herself like a massive star. There's no question about that. But I don't know. That's the kind of decision where if I were in charge, I'd be like, that's a huge financial burden that we can lose and not make any difference at all, I'm not even sure if she went to AEW, it would make a big difference for them.
Oh, no. I put her right where I put Adam Copeland and those sort of people that I always say this when there's people that are up or due and people say, I'd like to see that guy in AEW. Maybe he can do something and move. If people have been on TV for decades and they haven't moved business, they're probably not going to move business in the other company. They've had a decade to move business, and they haven't. Like people like Adam Copeland, where he's like, well, maybe in AEW it'll be different. Why would it be different? Everybody that's wanted to see Adam Copeland has been able to see Adam Copeland for years and 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 years. Why would now, he's in a new company. Well, now I'm going to watch. No, everybody has had their opportunity to watch Adam Copeland, and he has never moved business in any tangible way or hasn't moved business in decades. If you want to go back to his early days, sure, you can. But, the early days of the rated R superstar and stuff, you can. But, yeah, the same thing would happen with Charlotte, too. There's not some magical pixie dust that she, the woman's been a major star in that company for a ton of years and has not moved any tangible business. There's no reason why her and AEW would move tangible business either. So yeah, she's somebody that I would absolutely not pay any amount of money to. Let WWE pay for their legacy and their history and that sort of stuff. But if I'm AEW, I would have 100% said no to Charlotte.
Going back to the Sasha thing, don't rule out a short-term deal with Impact either.
Oh, yeah. Like my idea, and I was actually going to butt in with that, and my idea would be maybe she does the short-term thing with Impact. Her and Trinity look around and go, okay, let's make sure WWE stays the way it does. Okay, things are pretty good. Vince isn't coming back. It seems pretty stable. Okay, now maybe is a good time for us to go back.
Right. Or just reassess the lay of the land in 6 months.
Yeah. Or
a year or whatever it is. Or try to sync your contracts up. Trinity has 9 months left. All right, I'll sign a 9-month deal, and I'll come in at a discount, and, TNA jumps on that. Why wouldn't Anthem jump on that?
Oh, of course. They should.
You take her for any length of time that you can get her, So,
anyway. I should note about that, too, for the short term, not to interrupt you, but people people get weird about that in today's wrestling, and they say, no, why would you do that? You're going to push her for 6 months and then she's going to leave? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think
that's exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah.
We always talk about how that is the perfect, for a good booker, for a smart company, that is a gold mine to say, okay, not only do we have you for 6 months and you're Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, whatever, and you're a tangible star who has moved business in the past or whatever, but now we know exactly when we need to cycle you out, cycle you inside. That's perfect. You can write that down. You can get a little notebook out and say, all right, great. October 31st is when your contract expires. Great. I have this plan and this plan and this plan, and here's who you're going to lose to on the way out, and you're ready to go. I mean, territories existed for years and years on this exact premise that a guy would come in and do their 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year, whatever, and you knew exactly when that person was going to leave, and you knew exactly the right person. I'll take that 1,000 times over ambiguity of when someone's going to leave, or will they or won't they. I would love nothing more if Sasha came in and said, hi, I'm here for 6 months and then I'm leaving. I would say, great. Now I can know exactly what to do for you for 6 months and build up people around you and make sure that we make the most out of you and maximize your time here. And when you leave, you're leaving with putting one of our people over, and then you're going to go, and then hopefully the person that either lost to you or had a really good match with you or whatever, that person then moves up the ladder. To me, that's perfect. I want short-term deals. That would be so ideal for me.
That's a booker's dream. You have this finite amount of time, you know exactly how long it is, and you build a story arc that covers that amount of time. And, maybe if you're WWE or AEW, you might not be as thrilled about that type of arrangement. But if you're TNA, you have to understand your place in the hierarchy here, and you take that, and you squeeze every dollar you can out of that, and you jump all over it. Because Sasha Banks isn't going to sign with TNA for 5 years. If you can get her for 6 months or 9 months or a year, you take it. You absolutely take it. And I don't think any wrestler of any note, I wouldn't sign anything longer than 2 years in this environment.
Oh, in this environment, no, my God, no.
With the speed that things change and everything else, no long-term deals. I would not advise anyone, and I've actually spoken to wrestlers and advised them, don't sign anything longer than 2 years. That's crazy right now. You don't want to do that. When WWE was the only game in town, if they're offering you 5+ years, you take it. You take that stability where there's nowhere else to go to make that kind of money. But now there is other. So you don't sign any longer than 2 years. I mean, no way. And if I'm a huge star, I might even sign shorter than that. I might sign a series of, I might do the LeBron thing and just sign a series of 1 year deals, knowing that, I could escalate my salary, each year moving forward, if I'm a huge star and I have that kind of leverage. But,
and you need to push me in that year too. And in that year, you better do right by me, or else, hey, I'm done in a year.
That's right. You're constantly in show me mode. Now only the biggest stars can pull that off. Like, you can't pull that off if you're a mid-carder. You can't walk in there as a mid-carder and say you only want 1 year deals and you need to prove that. No, they're going to say, well, fuck you. I have 35 other mid-carders. I don't have to deal with this. But if you're a massive star, you absolutely can pull that maneuver and probably should. So, it's December and it's contract season, and we'll probably be having these conversations, right up through January and into February as all the New Japan stuff settles and whatnot. But, you see a lot of these stories coming up, and you will continue seeing a lot of these stories coming up for the next couple months here.
Absolutely, yeah. New Japan, keep an eye on them. I think they're going to be, to me, the most interesting of all these, as they usually are. Sometimes, well, I guess not usually. Sometimes they're not, but sometimes they are. This year, I think we're going to go back to that 1 year when Nakamura, Styles, and Anderson and Gallows and those sort of. I really do feel like there's something bubbling there in New Japan. So I would definitely keep an eye on that. But yeah, with particular notice of Okada possibly leaving as well. So when is Fit Finley just going to get his son a job already? So I know.
Out of there.
Brogan's there. He's got one son a job. Get them both a job. Come on.
And when are Tama and Tangaloa and Hikuleo just going to get the fuck out of here so we don't have to deal with them anymore? They do this dance every year. Just it's time. It's time. Tama Tonga's been with New Japan since like 2009. Okay, like you've hit your ceiling. Right? Like, there's money flying around in America. You can eliminate all those long flights. Just make the move, my man. Do it. Take your brothers with you. I think it'll work out for everybody.
Yeah, they need more bloodline
money.
stories because we're starting to get to the, hey, maybe Solo's the guy. We all kind of said that was going to be, all the WWE fans and all the bloodline defenders were going to get to the point where they were like, wait a minute, maybe it's Solo that's the guy all along. And we kind of said from day one, basically, when Solo debuted.
I thought it was going to be Solo 8 minutes after he debuted.
Right.
Now the light bulb is going on to these fucking sea monkey WWE
like,
fans.
wait a minute, what
They're
about
just figuring
Solo?
this out.
Right.
But no, you can't transition to the Tongans. They're not even from the same fucking
Oh,
island.
sure you can. Sure. Why not?
With WWE, well, yeah, who knows with WWE? But they might not give a shit.
One of them played a Mexican when he was in WWE.
Camacho, you're right. Camacho. Yeah, you're right. Okay. All right. I've been shouted down successfully.
I think you have a more tangible, you're more able to say these men are Samoan. Tama Tonga is Samoan. Do you think these sea monkeys are going to give a shit about Tonga versus Samoa? They don't know. No idea.
Yeah.
They got tattoos that look of tribal
sense.
That's enough. We're good. Black hair, tattoos. We're good. That's, I think, all we need.
Camacho was over a decade ago. Culture has changed. I don't know if they can get away with it anymore. Now they did just have Jiro doing a Korean gimmick. So
yeah, he did Jiro just did a mukbang gimmick in the last calendar year. So there is
But this one I don't know. I don't think you now MLW just turned Juicy Finau into a Samoan. He's not Samoan.
Right? See,
he was a part of Samoan SWAT team, but he's not. I believe isn't he Tongan? I'm not sure, but I know he's not Samoan.
No, he's not Samoan. Yeah, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I thought he was. I forget where
he's definitely not Samoan.
No, he is not.
That I know for sure. I don't know his.
I'm not sure either. Yeah, I'm trying to figure. We did this like a bunch of weeks ago, and I don't remember what we came up to.
We did it a couple different when they rolled out the new Samoan SWAT team.
Yeah, we said,
hold on a second.
Hold on a second.
Wait a minute. This is not. So I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat remembers, but yeah. But the point here is, I want that whole family out of New Japan. I don't care what you got to do. I just there's nothing left for any of them to do. Maybe they're still high on Hikuleo. I'm out on Hikuleo. I am out on Hikuleo. I don't know where you are in Hikuleo.
I like him, but if he left, no tears would be shed. I think he's gotten better, but I'd be fine if he wants to waltz into WWE. Please go.
That guy's not going to be a star in New Japan. No, I'm sorry. I'm out. I'm out on Hikuleo. There was a time where maybe I just don't see it. I don't see him being a star in New Japan. Maybe they're super high on him. I don't know, but yeah. So contract season rolls on.
There we go. So let's get into Ring of Honor Final Battle. Let's talk about this show. It was Friday from the Curtis Colwell Center in Garland, Texas, where I believe AEW runs on a now weekly basis. It feels like they're always at the Curtis Colwell Center in Garland, Texas. Final attendance number, just a shade under 2,000, 1,964. That's got to be seen as a pretty big disappointment, I would imagine, Joe, under 2,000 for an ROH pay-per-view, but an ROH pay-per-view in late 2023. I mean, maybe that's about the number it should be.
No. Can we talk about this for a second? Because Tony Khan was in total spin mode in that post-show presser.
Oh God, what did he say? I don't even know if I saw that.
He called it one of the top gates in the history of Ring of Honor, is what he said. And that is total spin mode. The official number from the WrestleTix number was 1964. Okay. Now we know a couple hundred at minimum were not paid out of that number. We know that for a fact. I know that for a fact. Okay. But let's just roll with 1964.
Sure.
And now we know the ticket prices were expensive. All the Converse ticket prices are expensive. That's not okay. First of all, that's not a top 10 ROH gate. Every Tony Khan pay-per-view gate has been higher than that, first of all. And how many is he at now? 4 or 5 or something like that?
Yeah, we're up to, I think we're up to what now? I think we got to be up to 4, I believe, right? I'm not counting the
He's had
original
more than
Supercard of
4
Honor.
pay-per-views.
That one was the one where he took over, but just kind of did their thing or whatever.
That had a higher gate than this one too,
Right.
didn't it?
I was going to say that did. And then I know that the next one, Death Before Dishonor, that had 3,100 people in Lowell, Mass or whatever. So unless tickets were very, very cheap for that one. Final Battle 2022, that had 2,602 in College Park, Arlington, Texas, at the College Park Center. So that, I imagine, was probably pretty close. And then, hold on a minute, the Supercard of Honor this year in March had 4,000 people from the Gallon Center in Los Angeles. So I don't know. That seems dubious that this is the highest gate.
Hold on. Now you've got the Supercard of Honor in Louisiana had 6,000 fans.
Yeah.
I was there. The Supercard of Honor in Florida the year before with the Hardys and the Bucks on top, which was the ROH record at the time, had like 4,800 fans. So it'd be behind that one as well. So we already are up to like, 5 or 6 shows that undoubtedly drew more money than this show, right?
Unless we're trying to assume that ticket prices were so dirt cheap for all those other shows that this one, with just a hair under 2,000, somehow was a higher gate, which you were at that New Orleans show. Well, you probably did buy a ticket.
There's
6,000
people there. There's no way there was a higher gate. There were 6,000
I
people
agree.
there.
When there's nearly 4 times the amount of it seems like pretty implausible that this was the highest gate.
There's not a fucking chance. What about all the Hammerstein shows that drew 2,000 plus fans throughout ROH's history? If we're just going on attendance, I'm not even sure this was top 20. It's close. I think it's close. I'm going to look this up right now. I got to use Wrestle Data for this.
Maybe. That's going to be tough.
This site a lot.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
I can do it. I can do this. Hold on. No. They have a thing where you can sort the events by promotion, by attendance. I just have to figure out how to do it because I don't normally go to this site. Let me see. All right, here's Ring of Honor. But while I'm doing that, just go on Cage Match and pull up the Tony Khan era ROH pay-per-views. This was the least attended one.
Yes, yeah. I basically just ran through them all in that last segment. I mean, this was far and away the lowest of all of those, including earlier this year when he had what did I say, 4,000 people in Los Angeles. So it's like, for the Supercard of Honor. Yeah.
So.
Or Death Before Dishonor. No. That was in, okay, no, sorry, I forgot about Death Before Dishonor, which I meant to mention as well. That had just a hair under 3,000, 2,898 in Trenton, New Jersey. And then Supercard of Honor was the one in Los Angeles, the Gallon Center, that had 4,000 for attendance, sold out. So, yeah, but the 2 other shows this year, significant more attendance.
Okay, so here's the statistics of the events of the. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I can pull it up right here. There are just strictly by attendance, according to Wrestle Data. This show that just happened is what was the name of this card? This was Final Battle
2023. Yep.
Would be no higher strictly in attendance than 12th or 13th. So that's a pretty loose definition of one of the highest gates in ROH history, because you would have the Supercard of Honor. Now, and that's not even counting MSG. Let's leave that one out of it. Let's leave MSG out of it. Okay, that filled up Madison Square Garden. You've got Lakeland, which was Supercard of Honor in 2018, 6,000 fans. You have Supercard of Honor 2023 this year was 4,472. You have Supercard of Honor 2017, which was Florida, which was 3,500, but I actually think that's wrong. I think that's too low. You have Death Before Dishonor 2022, which is a con show, 3,100. Death Before Dishonor this year, 2,898. Final Battle 2022, 2,602. ROH, a new level in 2008 in Hammerstein, which is at 2,300. You have a show in 2007 in Hammerstein. You have a bunch of Hammerstein shows that are listed at 2,000. You have Supercard of Honor 2022 listed at 1,961. And then maybe you get to this show. And then there's a bunch of shows listed at 1,800, which are all Hammerstein shows. Which that would put it, if this show drew less than 1,800 paid, you're looking at best 21st all time in ROH history, at least based on this list. Then you have a couple Cork and Hall shows at 1,700. Okay, so look, this show did not do well. Tony Khan can spin that all he wants. This show did not do well. You've got the shows in England that did like 1,700 fans. Unified and wasn't Unified in England, and then and then what about Driven in 2007 in Chicago at the Frontier Fieldhouse? That's listed at 1,700 fans. So, Final Battle 2021, which was not that was the last Sinclair show. That has a listed attendance of 1,620. That may have had more tickets sold than this show. It's probably close. So I don't know. You can't spin it. Now, no one in that presser, I know we do this all the time, no one bothered to ask him why the show was paywalled on Honor Club as opposed to being on pay-per-view. We know the answer, but you have to make him answer that and see what he says. And no one bothered to ask him that. Did you listen to the media call before the show? I did not.
I did not.
Did anyone ask it on the media call?
I would assume no. I would assume no, but maybe they did. Maybe they did, but I doubt.
Now, we all know the reason that show was on Honor Club was to drive Honor Club subscriptions. We all know that. But you have to ask him that question and see what he says to that question. You have to. And, of course, nobody asked him. And I'm going to assume nobody asked him. If anyone in the chat listened to the media call before the show and someone did ask, I would love to know how he answered that. But no one asked him in 2 hours, in the post-show scrum, why the show was on Honor Club. So now their hopes are that a bunch of people paid $10 for the show and will forget that they are subscribed, and and they'll see how much mileage they can get out of it, with people now. And then we see the next pay-per-view, if they try this same deal, where they have it on Honor Club, or they move it back to traditional pay-per-view. But from a business standpoint, and he could talk about running 3 dates in the same city all he wants to, because that was part of his spin too. We've been in North Texas.
You did that.
On all these costs.
You did that.
And
you can't use that as an excuse when you booked it.
Yeah. Yeah. They always come to North Texas this time of year for these shows. So he was talking about all the money saving from just having to drive up the road with the production and all, and that's all well and good. But you sold less than 2,000 tickets for this show. So I'm not accepting any of that spin. Now, he also talked about, I thought something good that he said was, he talked about how AEW is constantly under attack. And I know a lot of people got on him for that, but he's absolutely right. I mean, they're constantly under attack from, and he flat out said, from bad faith critics and social media. And he says he's doing a better job of ignoring that stuff. At least he said, which I thought that's the first time he's ever said anything like that. And they really do need to do a better job of ignoring that shit. And, as far as the company constantly being under attack, it obviously is, from your Eric Bischoffs and your Jim Cornettes and your people of that ilk. And you go right down the line of the lower level versions of the Eric Bischoffs and Jim Cornettes.
Your Disco Infernos and that type.
Yeah. And others where I don't even like to say their names and give them any, we all know who they are, He's absolutely right that AEW is constantly under attack, and it is all in absolute bad faith. I mean, we talked about Eric Bischoff last week and kind of described the kind of grift that he runs. I don't know if you saw, but either yesterday or today, he was tweeting out a link to his WWE shop affiliate with CM Punk merchandise. So now Bischoff is like flaunting it and doing this tongue-in-cheek thing, where now he's just admitting that he's full of shit. This is the same guy who a year ago was saying that CM Punk was, and these are Eric Bischoff's words, the biggest waste of money and the biggest financial disaster in the history of pro wrestling. Then the guy signs with WWE, and WWE is brilliant. This is great bringing him in. And, here, you can buy his T-shirts through my affiliate link.
Right, I mean, which is bullshit. You're going to use voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop instead.
That's right, if you're going to buy your Punk T-shirts.
Come on, you're going to use Bischoff's link? No, voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop is how you're going to buy that CM Punk shirt.
I mean, he's saying the quiet part out loud and making it a meme that he's full of shit. He's telling his fucking listeners.
They don't know.
Them it's a meme.
They still won't know. They still won't get it.
Rich, not only do they don't know, they're so stupid. that all the responses to his tweet were, hell yeah, I'm buying a shirt today. Like, these people are just, they're in on it. It's just they want to hear, they're going to people like Bischoff and Cornette and the rest because they want to hear the AEW bashing. That's the point. So, and at this point, Bischoff's not even hiding it. And so Tony Khan's absolutely right that they're constantly under attack. There's no doubt about that. Now, is he truthful when he's saying they're doing a better job of ignoring that stuff and just trying to put on good shows? I mean, we'll see. The last month or so of TV, including this week's Collision, which was outstanding. One of the best TV shows they've done in a long time, a truly, legitimately great show. The TV has turned around since the Continental Classic has started. AEW, if you're picking on AEW right now, it's got to be bad faith or bullshit because they're on a roll. I mean, their TVs have been great. This pay-per-view was incredible, this ROH pay-per-view. This ROH pay-per-view, you compare this, and it's apples and apples, okay? You compare this ROH pay-per-view to that fucking thing that we saw last week from NXT. Oh, my God,
yeah.
I mean, the gap can't be any wider in quality. I mean, the gap cannot possibly be any wider in quality between these ROH pay-per-views, which are always great, and whatever the fuck that was from NXT, like the talent gap, the match quality gap, everything. It's just the shows are so much better. But the AEW TV has been much better and much more focused.
I agree.
And I don't know if you saw today, but the Collision rating came out from Saturday, and they did their highest number since October, which, okay, college football's over. That's not that big of a surprise, right? Although there was an NFL game that did 9 million viewers.
I was going to say, they lost college football, but they gained an NFL game.
Right. Now, collectively, were the 9 college football games that were on doing more than 9 million viewers in October and November? I mean, probably. I don't know. But, the point here is, if you looked at the quarter hours, and we talked about this last week, where there was that one Dynamite or Collision or whatever it was, where all 3 C2 matches had the highest quarter hour. It was a very similar pattern this week, where the 3 highest quarter hours in the demo, I believe, and I'm not looking at it, were all quarter hours that involved a Continental Classic match. And, so we're seeing evidence that every week now that there's viewer interest in this tournament. Dynamite did the 0.3 last week, and now we have like 2 or 3 straight weeks of Collisions where the quarter hours are jumping up during the Continental Classic matches, particularly in the demo. So AEW is in a good place right now in terms of the quality they're presenting on television. They've cut down on some of the bullshit, the sports entertainment type bullshit that they were doing, and it's starting to be reflected in their numbers. They're not doing monster, but you're seeing positives in their numbers now. So, and then this pay-per-view, which obviously we're going to talk about now, was incredible. But we'll see if Tony means it in terms of kind of ignoring these people who, look, it's their jobs to attack AEW. It's their jobs to cast, and it does have a negative influence on the company. I mean, there's no doubt that people like Eric Bischoff and Jim Cornette are hurting the growth of AEW. And I know people are going to get on my case for saying that. Not our listeners necessarily, but if this audio gets around. But it's true. I don't know how you can deny it. That's absolutely true. They're speaking to lapsed fans in a lot of cases who then aren't even going to give it a try. And they're influencers. They're undoubtedly influencers. And when it's all constantly that bad faith negativity, that has an effect on people. There's no doubt about it. So I think Tony needs to just put his nose down, work hard, do better shows, stop trying to be something they're not, and try to fill a niche that is unfilled, like we've been talking about the last couple weeks. You have anything else from his presser?
So I did not watch the presser because I've just now completely skipped those, unfortunately, because they just tend to not be worth my time at all. I'll always kind of I'll look through like the questions, or I'll look through certain aggregators or whatever that will take. But yeah, it feels like there's really just not a whole lot there. anymore for me to sit down and watch those. Maybe one of these days it'll change and I'll go back to actually sitting and watching them all, but there hasn't been much that I've really loved. But no, your big picture AEW thoughts before we get into Final Battle, 100% agree with you. And it's been awesome to see it reflected in the ratings as well, where, yeah, Collision's not doing monster numbers, and it probably isn't going to do monster numbers while there's still some level of football around, but they're encouraging numbers. And I wrote about that a couple weeks ago behind our paywall at flagshippatreon.com about how they were up against an NXT show and held their numbers. And now they were up against the in-season tournament in the NBA and held up against their numbers. And they're against the NFL and they held up on their numbers. Whereas there was a time a couple of months ago where anything that was on, particularly WWE programs, would just destroy their ratings. And I think it's been encouraging to look at the Dynamite quarter hours. I think it's been encouraging to look at all. And all of it has been good. And I hope that hopefully this is a big wake-up call to everybody there that, okay, maybe this is the way. This is what we should probably be focusing on, and this is the way that we're going to differentiate ourselves from the other guys and not being, whatever what the brochacho stuff was, and just completely, from a business perspective, not successful, and from a critical standpoint, in my mind, not very successful at all. I know there were some people that liked it, but by and large, I think a lot of their fan base, really rejected it and did not like it. So, hopefully this is a path forward. And I'm kind of like you, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week, that I want to see it after the C2. Because it's been real easy to take up, an hour and a half of your show with good wrestling matches. And that's never been the problem for AEW. The problem, we've always said, AEW pay-per-views are fine because you just roll the ball out and you got all these guys and all these talented wrestlers and some of the best wrestlers of all time. Like, yeah, you're going to roll that ball out and they're going to go play and they're going to have a good game and a good matches and a good pay-per-view. That has never been the problem. The problem has been sort of the connective tissue of the shows outside of those good matches, and that is going to be the issue. Is once presumably at World's End we're going to have the reveal of the devil or whatever, and now does that kind of bog down the show like it did for a while? I mean, like, I don't know about you, but man, I've really enjoyed these last couple weeks with no MJF and no Adam Cole. I don't know about you, but
they've been great. It's been great TV.
It's been good TV. Roddy's there, but he's slowly shedding aspects of that character, I think deliberately as well, which is good. Samoa Joe's been pretty, non-bullshit through this entire thing, so he's been good. And the Timeless Tony stuff, one of my other big criticisms, she's been largely kind of just, it's
very scaled back.
Very scaled back. One little segment. She comes on commentary and says words funny, ha ha ha, okay. And then we move on, and there's no QTV. It feels like we've really gotten there where it does feel like there was some sort of, whether it be a come to Jesus moment or a heart to heart or something that said, all right, what hold on a minute. We got to get back to.
It's deliberate. It's deliberate. And it's also because the tournament takes up so many of the quarters. That helps. But it's deliberate. Here's how AEW has been better for the last 5-6 weeks or whatever it is, 4 to 6 weeks. When you have people like Disco Inferno saying that AEW needs a hard reset, things are going well.
Yes.
When you have all of the dumbest people on Twitter, WWE sea monkeys, saying that getting back on their AEW is not telling stories bullshit, things are going well. When Reddit is no longer praising AEW television, things are going well. When all of these kinds of people are starting to pipe up again, which they have been lately, that the television has improved. That's always the perfect measuring stick. If you're making those people happy, the show probably stinks, right? Because, and then if those people are unhappy or complaining, because we all know that this tournament is telling a million different stories. Okay, we know this, whether it's Daniel Garcia coming close, but he can't quite pull it off, or, Mark Briscoe or Jay Lethal, where, he can't win a match without his boys. And in fact, he's now losing in like squashes basically because he doesn't have his boys there to help him cheat. Or it's Jon Moxley trying to prove that he's still the ace, or the ascension of Swerve Strickland, or Mark Briscoe's winless, but his final matches against his longtime friend and rival, Jay Lethal, and how all of a sudden, even though they don't have any points, that's a huge match for Mark Briscoe.
Match of pride, a pride match.
Right, or Bryan Danielson trying to win this thing with the injured eye and all of his opponents attacking his eye, and Andrade trying to use the exposed turnbuckle to win all of his matches. Like, we see this, and we know that this tournament has
done a pretty decent job, a really good job of telling stories within the context of the matches and the context of the tournament. And it got off to a slow start, but as it's moved along, they've done a really good job. And I think it's been reflected in people showing interest in the matches and interest in those quarter hours. And that's just not the kind of storytelling that resonates with that other kind of fan, with the W. And that's fine. That's fine.
It's not for them. They have
it's not for them.
8 hours of first-run television every single week that they can watch instead.
Keep being something for everyone else to fill a different niche, to carve out your little territory, your little piece of the pie. And that's what AEW is doing now. It's been much more focused and much better. And it's being reflected little by little, with these quarter hours and some of these ratings. Where you're seeing things like, Dynamite does a 0.3 for the first time in months. Collision does its highest 18-49 since October. And I was right. 3 of the top 4 quarter hours in 18-49 were tournament match quarter hours. And the top the top quarter hour in the show in total viewers was the finish of the Claudio Andrade match in total. So the top quarter in total viewers was the finish of a tournament match, and 3 of the top 4 quarters in 18-49 were quarter hours of that tournament matches as well. And the women's tag team street fight did very well also. That should be noted. It was like the 4th or 5th highest in the demo and the 2nd highest in total viewers. Because those old men, they love to turn on those women's matches.
Oh, they do.
So
yeah.
They those over 50-year-old men, they show up for those women, and they did. That was the 2nd highest quarter in terms of total viewers, behind the Claudio Castagnoli Andrade finish, which was the highest quarter hour in total viewers. So, we're not making this up. You just look at these quarter hours every week, and you look at the ratings every week, and they have built interest in this tournament. And they've done a good job booking the tournament. The jury was out. They proved that they did. And, and now here we go, and we see how it finishes. And they've done a good job telling stories with basically everybody in the tournament. So, anyway, this Final Battle show, I thought it was great. What did you think?
It's fantastic. Again, we'll update our, we used to say NXT takeovers were the safest bet in wrestling. These Ring of Honor pay-per-views are the safest bet in wrestling now. Maybe AEW pay-per-views even a little safer, but man, every time these Ring of Honor shows are done, I just have a blast watching them. It's it's frustrating in one sense because it's like, I don't know what to do with Ring of Honor week to week. I don't know, but you know what? I guess it doesn't affect me because you know what I can do? Not watch the TV and pop in every quarter and watch these pay-per-views. And you know what? They fucking rock. So it's like, if this is what it's going to be, that we don't really need, if you want to be a sicko and watch every single week, great. If you want to, you can. But if you don't want to, you just want to check in every quarter with one of these ROH pay-per-views, then just do it. Because they are phenomenal shows. I thought this was incredible.
The TV is not good, and it will die a death if that's what they put on. If they get a TV deal and the product that they have on Honor Club is what they put on TV, it will die a death. The TV is not good. But I suspect if they get a TV deal, that's not the kind of product they're going to produce for TV. So, but I guess we'll cross that bridge if we ever get to it. But yeah, the pay-per-views. Look, we talked about last week, we're looking at the lineup and we're like, this is probably going to be a really good show, and they added a bunch of matches on the fly. Some of them were worthwhile. Some of them were not. But yeah, this ended up being, a 5-hour show that felt like a 3-hour show because it was so great. Did you watch any of the pre-show?
I did, in fact. Yeah, I saw it all, actually. Well, you know what? I won't lie. Taya Valkyrie hit the ring, and I said, you know what? I think I'm good. So I did not watch the Taya match, but I watched everything else on the pre-show.
Yeah. So,
life's too short. When I saw Johnny TV and Taya, I said, this show's, I think, 5 hours long. I'm going to skip this. I don't need this in my life. So I did not get that in my life.
I thought this little Von Erichs run was fun for what it was. The Rampage match, which was the 6-man tag, with where Kevin came down and put the Iron Claw on Jake Hager. I was wondering who was going to take the claw. It ended up being Hager, who did the cartoon selling for the Iron Claw and all that. And then they had a match against the Outrunners on this pre-show. So I think they're back living in Texas. So, if anyone wants to book them, it's not going to be a situation where you got to pay for those Hawaiian flights.
Yeah, I think even I want to say even Kevin is no longer in Hawaii. Which is why
they're all in Texas.
Yeah, why would he leave that paradise? What is he doing? But
I don't know. Maybe it's now or never for his boys, and maybe he just figures
Yeah.
But I don't see them.
It's never.
They have a good look. I mean, they're good looking guys and they're in shape. Their work is fine. I mean, they would be exposed, I think, long term on this roster. So, I don't see anything for them beyond kind of this North Texas swing, but I guess you never know.
They're fine. They're fine to bring in as an attraction, but they're just not. They're not very good, and they're not.
They're not. Yeah,
they're not gonna be good. It's if it hasn't happened yet, it's probably not gonna happen. But for something like this, right around December when the movie's coming out, and they're gonna get bookings. I think maybe over the next the course of the next 6 months, 7 months, or whatever, while that movie's got some buzz and a modicum of that we might start seeing them a few places here and there. But I think once that buzz dies down and once everybody kind of gets their eyes on these guys, it's not going to last very long. And yeah, AEW, zero reason for any reason whatsoever for AEW to actually bring these guys on full time. They can't hang.
So we're being told someone in the family wants to play high school football, so they moved back to Texas. So the kid
that's a good place to play. So better than Hawaii, I guess.
Brian Keith won a spot in Survival of the Fittest with a sit-out powerbomb on Jack Cartwheel. And Daniel Garcia defeated Blake Christian. Both of those matches I thought were fine.
What was your take on the Ataya Jasmine Allure match? I did not hear that.
I didn't see it.
Skipped it. Oh, you skipped it too. Gosh darn it. Well,
I turned it on late. I didn't.
I watched it after the fact, and I said, no, thank you. I think I'm okay.
The Converse does a really poor job communicating when the pre-shows are going to be on, how many matches are going to be on them. They've done a poor job of that lately. The last pre-show for the last AEW pay-per-view was 90 minutes for some reason, and they never told anybody. And I don't know. It's sloppy. Just tell people when things are going to be on. Why is that so hard?
Well, that seems to be a problem every week.
What they're going to see.
It seems to be a problem every week these days. So
and then we have Tony Khan again today saying, "Oh, from our great partners, we have another overrun for Dynamite tomorrow." Yet I go to my guide and there's no overrun scheduled on the guide, and it's just like, is it a super big deal? Not really. But, how many people just are never seeing the end of the show because it's not important enough to them to go change it on their guide, or, or they usually watch live, but this week they have something going on and they're going to watch the recording and they're not going to get the fin. I don't understand how WWE has been able to do these overruns for decades now and never have an issue with this. They either time the fucking show to end when it's supposed to end, or they get the network to give them 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is. They do it with NXT all the time. That's never a problem. And it's never a problem for anybody with the DVR. And with Tony Khan and with AEW and with Dynamite, it's, maybe the show will end on time. Maybe it won't. We'll see. How is that acceptable?
Right.
And, it's like, how's that acceptable? And yes, everyone should just go to their DVRs and schedule an extra half hour. I understand that.
No, the onus should be on the presenter of the product.
Should be on them to just do
right.
it right. So take that stuff out of our hands as much as possible. Yeah, I know all the workarounds because I do them every week. Yeah, I know I can go on YouTube and watch the finish of the main event. I know that I can get it on the West Coast feed if I catch it in time. I know that I can go watch an illegal pirate stream somewhere. I know that I can go to the TBS TNT app, and I know the workarounds. That's not the point. The point is the consumer shouldn't have to say to themselves, "Oh, what do I have to do to see the end of the show this week?" Just make sure we can fucking see it. How about that? And people make excuses for it, and there's no excuses. Just fucking do it right. Do a 2-hour show, or if you're going to go 5 extra minutes, have it scheduled so people don't get fucked.
Seems like a no-brainer. Seems like a no-brainer, but it's been a point of contention and argument discussion for a month. Which, again, it seems like
just fucking fix it.
Yeah,
just fucking fix it.
Easily fixable.
The onus should not be on us. And believe me, people like us and the people listening are going to try a lot harder than everybody else is to make sure that they see the end of these shows. Okay, that's the bottom line. So it's it's really just fucking stupid the way that they've handled all of this stuff, where you just tell us when and where to come and when it's going to fucking end and what's going to be on the show. Why is that so hard?
That seems like a very easy, that's all.
Bare minimum.
That doesn't seem like that big of an ask. Where, when, and what seems like a pretty easy thing to answer if you're promoting a product, a consumer product. But that was the pre-show. And then, we start with the main show itself. Vikingo and Taurus was the first match, right, on the main show?
Yeah, go ahead.
I both thought this match ruled and thought it sucked. And I don't know how to properly contextualize that. There was large portions of this match that I thought were fucking incredible. And Taurus was great, and I loved it, and Vikingo was great. And then there were large portions of the match that I thought absolutely sucked, where Vikingo was terrible and Taurus was fine, but looked terrible because he was kind of some of the Vikingo stuff in this match just annoyed the hell out of me. And I'm not usually that kind of guy, but man, when you can't do a springboard twice, go to something else. Try a different move. Don't have Taurus sitting out there waiting for you to do one more springboard, a reverse, 630. Too much. I mean, that's been a problem with Vikingo.
Hold on, sir. Ian Riccoboni told me he was faking him out.
right. I love, and I was gonna. My notes say credit to Ian and Caprice for trying to cover by saying, I think he faked him out on that one. I think he faked him out on that one as he continued to attempt to do springboards and then went back to the ring, and Taurus had to stand there for an uncomfortable amount of time to wait for Vikingo to finally do it. But there was some other spots in that one too. There's the one notable thing where time stood still as these guys are trying to do something, but there was also just little stuff here and there. I love Vikingo. He's incredible to watch live. He's an incredible wrestler, but the same problem that he's had for a long time, he had again here, where it's just like he's doing too much sometimes, and it's like we don't maybe just figure out the connective tissue between your moves as opposed to just figuring out the next time you're going to do some big, spectacular, gigantic thing. And I hate to be that guy, but Vikingo is like the worst offender of that, of just doing really, really cool shit. And when he does all those really cool things in a row, it looks really cool. And with someone like Taurus, like a great base like Taurus, it does look really good. But then there's other times where it's just like, can we get something else? Can you tell some sort of match story or some sort of narrative here in between you doing 7,000 flips or botching things here and there? So I don't know. Parts of this match I loved, parts of this match I thought sucked, and I don't know how to properly contextualize it, I guess.
Outside of the awkward sequence where he couldn't get the springboard right, I really liked it. I thought that it was what you want out of this kind of opener. And we all know how good Taurus is, and they should try to bring him in for good. Look, I agree, and I've often had the same complaints about Vikingo's matches, where I'd like to see him now tell me more of a story between the bells, as opposed to just moving from one dynamic spot to the next. I've seen them all, and they always look great. But yeah, give me a little more meat on the bones now. And for an opener, I don't really, I'm a big fan of just going out there and having a high impact opener where guys just light the crowd up and get everybody into the show. But, and that's usually the position that he's in with AEW, whether it's on, did you see the 6-man from Rampage?
I did. And that's more the style.
Great.
Yeah, that's more it. Yeah, I think the other problem too is this went 16 minutes. So it's like they gave them a long amount of time to kind of tell a story. And I think Taurus was great in this match. When he would grab Vikingo and throw him around and toss him all over the place, it was great. The problem was a lot of it was, wait around for Vikingo to bounce off the ropes 3 times and do, his flippy-doo gimmicks, which are great. I love those flippy-doo gimmicks. They're good, but I just, when you're doing a 16-minute match, I think maybe he needs a little bit more. Maybe the ideal, if you're going to do a Vikingo singles match, is make it 10 minutes or whatever, or you stuff him in, like you said, a 6-man or a tag match or whatever, where you're not so much worried about, what's the story of this, where it's just like, who cares? It's 11 minutes and guys are doing a bunch of shit. This is fine. Whereas, 16-minute opener, maybe need a little bit more meat on the bones.
Well, Will Ospreay's coming. He'll get a match out of this guy.
Oh yeah. That now I'm in. It's really just like you said. It's more of a kind of a challenge of like, okay, we know you can do this spectacular, but let's take that next step in becoming a great wrestler.
Can you have a match? And you brought up
Will Ospreay. That's a guy who for years and years and years, we on the show would come on here and say, Will Ospreay's spectacular, but he hasn't quite figured it out yet. But he's only 22 years old. Oh, but he's only, and then it didn't take long until he figured it out. And now look at him. For over the last 3 years, he's been the fucking best wrestler in the world. To me, undisputed, far and away the best wrestler in the world, and is telling really good stories and really interesting stories, and having matches that have some sort of meat on the bones. And Vikingo can do that, but he's 26 now, so it's like, all right, we've seen the spectacular. Let's see that next progression into what we think that you can be, and you can truly become an incredible all-around pro wrestler. Right now, he's very good at the spots and he's very good at the spectacular, but I don't think he's well-rounded enough to reach that upper echelon just yet.
Yeah, I still went 4 stars on it. I thought.
Oh yeah, me too. Because it's like a Vikingo match. You're like, when it's over, you're like, fuck, that was still pretty damn great.
Still fucking great. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and I rather see him struggle with a springboard now and then than watch Dragon Lee do what he was doing with Dom last.
Yes, week. I don't need Dragon Lee in a side headlock trying to rally up. No, I'll take this for sure.
Yeah. Next up was the 6-man. The ROH 6-man tag team titles. So Mogul Embassy again. And this is one of those matches that just, I think didn't they announce it as we were on the air last week?
They announced it. Yes. I don't believe, I think if I remember correctly, this is the one that wasn't announced on the show, on the ROH show itself, but was announced like an hour after the ROH show last week. And it's like, well, come on, you have the show, do it on the show. Is it possible they just found out TMDK would be coming over? That's possible.
They did work the World Tag League Tour.
Right, mate.
Anyway, it was
not my fault.
It was Shane Haste who does a twerking gimmick now. He did it the whole World Tag League Tour, and he's doing it here. Kosei Fujita and Bad Dude Tito was the combination of TMDK in this case. I don't know if this particular threesome has ever worked together before, and I'm not going to look it up. But they got the 6-man tag team title shot here based on, didn't Ian try to make it make sense by saying TMDK beat Khan and Leona in the World Tag League or something like that, and then that earned them. He tried to make, Ian, bless his heart, tries to make all this shit make sense. And he's usually successful in those efforts, but he had some kind of a nonsensical justification for the fact that they were getting the title shot. And look, I thought they went out there and had a really fun little 10-minute 6-man tag team match. I think Craich has abandoned me once again, but this time I'm prepared. Okay, you're not going to get dead silence on the air this time as the nurse locked herself in the bathroom or something, or wherever the fuck's going on over there in across the street from where Lenny Poffo was born. Here he is. See, you tried it again, but I sensed that you weren't there, so I decided this time.
I apologize.
I'm going to bury you.
I'm
going to bury you this time.
This was a dog issue this time, but we're good. We're all back. So,
do you have any thoughts on this 6-man tag team match?
Not many. I thought it was okay. I like the Mogul Embassy. I like this team. I like this team a lot. I like their look. I like the vibe of them. But otherwise, no, it was like, 12 minutes. And honestly, my notes, I really don't have much on it. I just kind of wrote, I like the Mogul Embassy, and I think they're a good unit. And I think it was a good 6-man, but it's not a match that I'll ever think about or ever remember ever again.
All right. They're asking in the chat. This is interesting. If Rich would have hated Sabu in real time. You saw Sabu in real time.
I saw Sabu in real time. And no, first off, it was 1996 or whatever. It was when, 95, 96 is when I first saw Sabu. What he was doing at the time was revolutionary. And I guess what Vikingo was doing is revolutionary too. But the energy around Sabu was a little bit more than the energy around Vikingo. And I like Vikingo, again, for the record.
And you don't hate Vikingo.
I like Vikingo a lot, but I don't think it's fair to compare anybody to Sabu, who is like one of the most vibes, energy wrestlers ever. And no, he was fucking incredible.
I quit this podcast. No, I quit. Ethan Page defeats Tony Nese. This fucking rocked. And no
thank you. Oh man, I thought I was on a fucking planet to because I saw people bearing the hell out of this match, and I was "You're all wrong."
They're full of shit. They don't want to accept that Ethan Page and Tony Nese, who no one really likes, knocked it out of the fucking park. Because there's no way that you could think that this match, this rocked.
This was pro wrestling in all of its forms, man. This was classic.
Do you think I want to praise an Ethan Page match? Do you think I really want to do that? Now, I like Tony Nese. I'll admit that, and you like Tony.
Oh
Nese.
yeah. I always said he's my day one call. If I ever inherited a wrestling company or somebody was like, here's $90 million to have a wrestling company or whatever. I think I need more than that now at this point. Tony Nese would be a day one call because you need a guy like the premier athlete on your roster. So yeah, he's a day one call for me. But yeah, I agree. Joe, what are my least favorite stipulation matches ever? Last Man Standing is an I Quit matches. I fucking hate I Quit matches. I don't like Ethan Page, and I didn't particularly look forward to a Tony Nese with smart Mark Sterling versus Ethan Page I Quit match. But I got to call it like I see it, man. I thought this rocked. I thought this was fucking great.
Ethan Page was great in the presser. He came across, with the wrestlers in the presser, there's a spectrum. You get Christian, who's 100% in work mode, right? Like Christian is not even 1% not working in the pressers. He's like one far end of the spectrum. And then you get the complete other end of the spectrum, like Chris Jericho, where he's just totally out of character and he's just or Bryan Danielson's another good example where they're just, they're just talking and they're letting it fly and they're being themselves. And then there's that gray area in the middle all across the rest of the spectrum. Well, Ethan Page was very much on the Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson end. That's how he chose to handle the presser. And I found him more likable and charming in that environment than I ever have him on screen. And he seemed very pleased that he knew the match was good. You could tell that he knew the match. You know how some wrestlers, and you've talked to wrestlers, I've talked to wrestlers, they'll have a great match and be like, man, you killed it. And like, I fucking sucked. I did this wrong and this wasn't. And you're like, it's a fuck. The wrestlers, never sat. But you could tell that he was satisfied with his work and he thought that he did something really special in there with this I Quit match. And he also came across just very charming overall. He told a very fun story that, because Scorpio Sky came out at the
this
end
is a great story, by
the
way. It's so good.
He came out to kind of save Ethan Page, and they used to be the Men of the Year. And he talked about how before Men of the Year were a thing, Tony Khan called Page and Scorpio Sky into his office one day, and he said, "Hey, do you guys get along? Are you guys friends?" And now they had never even met. Like they didn't even
such a good story. I love it.
They didn't know each other, but both of them being workers and both of them struggling for television time, they kind of like side eye each other and they're both thinking the same thing. And they're both like, we hang out. We're great friends. We hang out all the time. Yeah. We've known each other for years. Like they both, and then Khan obviously pitched the Men of the Year thing and he put them together and the idea was he wanted to make sure they had chemistry first. So they fucking worked their boss and told them that they were buddies and they worked together and then they ended up becoming friends. But I thought that was such a cool story. And it's like one of those things where you see the mechanisms of how ridiculous it is, how these things come together. But no, I thought Page came across really well in the post show. And he's just a guy that we've talked about a million times. He has every tool. He's tall. He has a great body. He looks good on TV. He can talk. But it never all comes together, and you're just left feeling like he's just a jag, right? And it's like some guys just have it and some guys don't. And for whatever reason, he has every tool, but he just doesn't have it. And that's always been my knock on him. But and I always drag my feet when he's involved in something because I don't really want to like it because I just find him so so average. But I thought this match was really great. And I thought they both worked their ass off. And this was an I Quit match for a story that I haven't given a shit about at all. And they won me over. And I thought they had a great match and it went in my notebook. So
yeah, just a lot of the little things in the inclusion of Mark Sterling. I thought he was fantastic the entire time, being the shitbag, manager that Paige had to overcome the entire time. Like, everybody just played their roles perfectly, and everybody did everything exactly the way you're supposed to do it. And it was just classic. This is a match that would work in any era. You could put the exact same match in the 80s and it would have worked. You put this exact same match in the 90s and it would have worked. You put this exact same match in the 2000s, it would work. And we saw it here work in the 2020s. It worked. Yeah, I had to hang it to these guys. I could not believe how much I enjoyed this when it was done. And just completely floored by how much as it was going on too, as it was happening, I'm like, man, do I like this match? I'm like, I do. And I do. And then I thought even towards the end, it just got really, really good. And yeah, what a, great moments from Ethan Page, just, with Tony Nese saying, are you going to quit? And Ethan Page saying, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like that, and just fighting through it, like pure babyface stuff. I mean, yeah, this was, these guys definitely, I understand why, Page had that glow when the match was over, because he absolutely earned it. This was great. I love this match.
Yeah. So what I want to do with the next match is lump it in with another match that was on the show. So the next match was a match no one knew was even happening. It was Nyla Rose versus Vert Vixen, and it was just a squash match, and Nyla Rose won very quickly, and no one really knew why it was happening. And I guess it's possible that she's the next challenger for Athena, so maybe just give her a little pay-per-view win. And see, it's not like she came out and challenged her. But and I think a lot of people thought maybe she was going to come out and challenge Athena or Billy Starks, whoever would have won. That didn't happen, but maybe on the TV, and I haven't watched the follow-up TV, maybe Nyla Rose is the next challenger. But anyway, I want to lump that match in with Eddie Kingston versus Anthony Henry, which was set up on the pre-show, which was a preposterous setup, by the way. Did you see this setup?
I did, yeah. It was wild.
We're going to go to Tony Khan for a special announcement, right? So we go to Tony Khan, and before he's able to do the announcement, Eddie Kingston shows up. And then Anthony Henry shows up, and they decide that and then Henry challenges him, and Kingston says, all right, how about a proving ground match? And then Tony Khan's like, all right, if you guys want it, I'm going to give it to you. But then we never found what was Tony Khan's special announcement. Like, they interrupted him. Right. And then Tony just forgot about, like, that wasn't the special announcement, because they interrupted him and booked an angle, and they, and then Tony just never bothered. So is this going to be just one of these mysteries? We're never going to find out what this, maybe Tony Khan was announcing the signing of Sasha Banks, and maybe now it's never going to happen because these two dopes interrupted him.
Right, or she's going to walk to WWE. Yeah, she thought she was going to get the announcement, and then they bait and switched her, and now she's pissed off and she's going to go to WWE now.
And then Tony's like, I didn't get to announce it. Maybe next time. But there won't be a next time, But anyway, I want to lump those two matches together because neither one were scheduled for the pay-per-view. Both of them were, very short television-style matches. And I don't hate it. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the Great American Bash 1990 from Baltimore. I'm going to tell you the first 4 matches on that Great American Bash show, Rich. Flying Brian versus Buddy Landell. Mike Rotunda versus the Iron Sheik.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one well.
Doug Furness versus Dutch Mantel. Harley Race with his King Harley Race tights, fresh off of his WWF run, against Tommy Rich, which Jim Ross covered for by saying Harley Race is a fan of the Sacramento Kings. I'll never forget him saying that. None of those matches had any build, no story to be found. They were just dudes having matches, right? And maybe having 4 or 5 matches like that is a little bit of an overkill. But I really don't mind on a pay-per-view where you just give me a couple matches just to have a match. I think it mixes it up a little. I think it breaks up the show in a good way when you do things like that. And I really think that AEW has a deep enough roster where they should do this kind of thing more often. I don't know. You have any thoughts on either one of these matches?
Yeah.
Nyla Rose, Vert Vixen, or
I can't imagine anybody having an issue with this. I guess that they're just not used to that because your standard WWE pay-per-view or whatever hasn't had these types of matches in forever, but they did for a long time. They had these types of matches, and classic WCW papers had these type of matches, and classic Ring of Honor shows back in the day. I'm fine with these. I like this, and I think it like you said, it's a good. They work as good, kind of buffer matches between. You had the I Quit match, and you were going to go to that survival of the fittest. You needed something in between to kind of, I think it worked out as having kind of this little buffer match, and you wanted to tell a story with it too. That Nyla Rose was going to, beat Vert Vixen very easily and probably challenge for the title again. And then the Eddie Kingston Anthony Henry thing was between the fight without honor and the main event, so it kind of worked out there too. That you didn't really have like a. Not necessarily a cool down match, but a match where
it breaks up the show in a meaningful way.
Right. Cool down's not the right term, but it's just like a match that is still going to be pretty good, but feels a little different than the match before and the match that's going to follow. And it breaks it up a little bit. And you just have, we just had this really, really long, war between these two teams. Well, let's just have this guy come out here and beat some guy in 6 minutes. Okay, now we're going to go to the main event, which is going to be a really, really long war or whatever. So I'm fine with them, and I would welcome that on any pay-per-view.
Yeah. So, and also this was on Honor Club, so they weren't restricted to any kind of satellite time or anything like that. And it really ran the same length as all of the pay-per-views run anyway. So it didn't really lengthen it by any meaningful degree or anything either. So anyway, those were those two matches. So then we had the, I want to say this about the, so one more thing with the special announcement. Why not just say that we have Tony Khan in the back and with Eddie Kingston standing by? Why even go the lengths of saying there's a special announcement only to then interrupt this? Why not cut the pretense and just say that Tony Khan is in the back with Eddie Kingston because Eddie Kingston wants to ask, why not just do it that way?
Right. It's weird. Yeah.
It seems so unnecessary to do the I got all juiced up for the special announcement. I'll be honest. I'm sitting there going, oh, whoa, what is this?
Get the notes ready. Special announcement from Tony Khan. Underlined.
Like, are they signing somebody or they got a TV deal? Like, what's happening? And no, it's Anthony Henry coming out to challenge Eddie Kingston. Survival of the fittest. This fucking rocked. This was so good, okay, that not only was the survival of the fittest, longstanding ROH gimmick, back to the Gabe days, not only was the survival of the fittest match itself really great, but then Kyle Fletcher and Commander had another great match.
Yes.
Within, this is like two great matches in one.
Yeah, that Fletcher Commander thing was so good on its own that I kind of forgot as they were wrestling and having that awesome back and forth. How long did that last? Let me see if I can find the exact. Well, it lasted almost 10 minutes. Yeah, it was just about 9 minutes or whatever between those. I think. Do I have that right? I think right around there. Yeah, if I'm trying to. Maybe I have the numbers wrong. Somebody will let me know.
The Fletcher Commander segment. I don't know. It was fucking great. I don't care how long.
I think it was around 9 minutes, if my math is correct. But somebody can let me know if I'm wrong or whatever. But yeah, while that was happening, I just kind of forgot that this was part of the survival of the fittest, which isn't to slight the rest of the survival of the fittest, because I thought that was really, really good stuff. I thought every single person in that match all had a chance to really do what they do best. Lee Johnson may be the lowest end of that because I just don't know that he's that well-rounded, but I think he was fine in this match. I thought Dalton Castle, who post back injury, who kind of got himself back on track finally, I think he's fine. He's not being asked to be a main event guy or whatever, but I think he still goes out there and has some really, really good matches and was great in here. Moriarty I thought was great, and Brian Keith was fantastic. Of the non-Kyle Fletcher Commander division, because they were in a class all to themselves, Brian Keith was the standout of this match too, and I love that little segment where Brian Keith and Dalton Castle are in the ring together and they're both adjusting their pants at the same time or whatever as they get ready for a fight or whatever. But Brian Keith was the man on the show, and he had obviously he's from Texas, so the crowd was really behind him. So I thought he was the standout of kind of the portion of the match that wasn't Fletcher and Commander, and then the Fletcher and Commander stuff was so high level work that I was just blown away by how and Commander he's great too. He's everything that I kind of want Vikingo to be and get to, and Commander's kind of already feels like he's kind of there in some ways and a little bit ahead of Vikingo in some ways, but Fletcher just was a fucking star with a capital S on this night, man. It's like you see that and it's like, yeah, you circle that guy's name and you say in a year this guy better be in the mix for top titles. We can't let this go. We can't let this guy kind of flounder. He has got to be a guy on this match. There's no way you watch this match and don't think this is a dude that's going to be one of our top stars in a year's time, in 24 months, whatever it may be. You circle his name and you highlight it and you say, okay, we got to focus on this guy.
Yeah, I think they clearly know what they have in Kyle Fletcher, and that's a potential future top guy. There's no doubt about it. And Brian Keith, and look, he has plenty of time to get there. Brian Keith, it was smart. He had the match with Orange Cassidy on, was that Rampage?
Collision.
Collision. So he had a big weekend in there. And one thing Tony Khan does well is he leverages people's, hometowns or their home areas, because Brian Keith is going to get the better reaction if you do all of this with him in Texas. Thunder Rosa is returning next week. Where? San Antonio, right? That's just smart to do it that way, because then these people get bigger reactions and they come across as bigger stars on TV. Brian Keith is a guy who they absolutely should sign. I don't care about the bloated roster stuff. I've never been a big. I don't. If someone's talented, you sign them. What? Now, it's your job then to juggle your roster and to utilize everybody, and they obviously can do a better job of that. I don't think their roster is too big. I just think they do a poor job utilizing.
Right, I agree. That's and if Brian Keith is going to be used on Ring of Honor, I mean, you have this Ring of Honor brand that is dying for people that are, have any sort of pulse, that are exclusive to that brand or whatever. I would say if you bring a Brian Keith in, you would use him in AEW if you can, and use him on Collisions and Rampages or whatever. But I would maybe think of him as a Ring of Honor guy first and foremost, and then use him otherwise. But I think he'd be a great asset to that roster.
Yeah, and Top Flight and Andretti should beat the Acclaimed this week, and I think they will. You get those ROH 6-man titles off of the Acclaimed, okay? That's long overdue. That story was done as soon as Billy won them. And the Acclaimed can just do their same shtick and whatever storyline they're going to do without those titles. And you get rid of the stupid gimmick belts, the scissor belts. You get those titles on Andretti and Top Flight. And then those 6-man titles become your action titles. And then you have a way to utilize all these great high-flying wrestlers and luchadors that you have, and you open up every episode of TV with it. They should have done this long ago. And I know I'm setting myself up to be disappointed when, when Billy Gunn is hitting the fucking famouser on Andretti on Wednesday. And
they're scissoring the titles. Yeah.
But, but I mean, that's what they should do. And then, you just, and then trade those titles around. Who fucking cares? You know what I mean? Just have great matches. It doesn't, and with all these, with a lot of guys that were in this match, your commanders of the world and everything and it's also great run for people who need the work, like Gravity, what did I say when they brought in Gravity on this show? He's not ready for TV.
Nope.
I told everybody that because I had seen plenty of Gravity with Big Lucha and everything else. I had written reviews on him, and he obviously has potential, but I tried to tell everybody, look, he's not really ready for TV, and he hasn't looked great. But you put him in 6-man tags with 5 other guys who fucking rock, and he gets good. It's not as glaring that he's a little bit behind everybody else, and he gets the reps that he needs, So there's a lot of advantages to getting those 6-man titles off of the Acclaimed and make it your action belt. And it gives all of these guys something to do on a weekly basis. So, and a lot of, and look, Lee Johnson, I love Lee Johnson. I heard you mention him. I think that guy has all kinds of potential. I really do. It's a weird comp. He reminds me of a young Sting. That's what he reminds me of, in the way that he moves, in the way that he works, just the way it's hard to articulate, just the way he moves. I see a lot of like 1986 Sting in Lee Johnson. With remember when Sting had that freakish athletic ability before he got a little older? I see a lot of that in Lee Johnson. I think there's something there. The guy in this match that I'm out on is Lee Moriarty. I'm out on him. I don't know. He's fine. I don't see much more of a ceiling there for him. I think whatever ceiling he's at, and he's an okay guy to have on the roster, but he doesn't jump off the screen on TV. He's the kind of guy where when his contract came due, he might be on the chopping block for me. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of people on the roster around his age who are just way better than him and have more upside than him. So if I had to pick one guy here, he'd be the one I'm out on. But yeah, no, this match was phenomenal. I mean, this and the Fletcher Commander, like you said, that was almost a second great match stacked on top of something else that was already a great match. And Dalton Castle, he can't keep up with these people. but he found a way to get over. He did that spot where he got thrown out of the ring like 4 times in a row, and then he didn't get thrown, and that got a huge pop. Like just that silly little spot that he did, where he didn't get thrown out of the ring. So, I thought he did a great job. And, this was so much fun. This match was just really great. And the right guy won. The right guy won. We all wish that they would do more with Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita on Dynamite, but I would implore people to be patient. I feel like they know what they have in Kyle Fletcher. I'm confident that they know what they have. And this is a good, this was a good sign that for people who think that they don't know what they have in him. Well, I really do believe that they do.
And this is the path forward for creating new fans and creating growth and stuff. It's always and it's been true in all of wrestling history, with very few exceptions, that new underexposed talents emerging and becoming stars on your TV is the way for growth. And you look at a guy like a Brian Keith, and we mentioned him. Like, he's a guy that has not been on television, has not been overexposed. You put him on your television, he's a new guy that a lot of people haven't seen before. You can tell all new stories with him. Kyle Fletcher's the same way too. He's a brand new guy that has not. That is the path forward. For if there's one thing AEW needs more than anybody else, it's these kind of guys moving up the ladder and becoming stars of this company. These kind of guys need to be that. And I agree that they presented Fletcher like a capital S star, so I know that they know. It's just a matter of, following it up and not having him get lost in the shuffle like so many people have gotten lost in the shuffle over the last year on AEW's main roster.
So Wheeler Yuta defeats Tom Lawlor in a ROH Pure match. The story here is, we've seen in ROH history, whenever there's a heel Pure champion, they always take a shortcut in some way to win. And what was the deal here? Like, Lawlor was in the ropes or whatever, and then there was some kind of shenanigans. They weren't blatant, but
yeah.
But
so Yuta's been using punches, like the open fist punch, but like that's all with the idea that, hey, I got 2 of them or I got 3 of them that I can give. Yeah. So he was putting those in, but yeah, at the end, like, he pinned Lawler, but then Lawler was putting his feet on the ropes, and the referee didn't see it. It was a clunky finish,
right?
And the match
and he
itself,
still had a rope break. He still had a rope break available,
right?
And the idea was the ref didn't see it. And when he won the title, he punched Shibata in the dick, right? Then he punched Shibata in the dick to win the title. Mm-hmm. So, so he's doing the heel Pure champion thing, which we've seen. If you're an ROH fan that goes back, remember Nigel McGuinness with the fucking iron?
Of course,
right? Like if you go, so. And the match was fine. I thought Tom Lawler's match with Satoshi Kojima on MLW One Shot was much better than this. And this was fine, but the match with Kojima was like great. So I don't know. Lawler's another guy. I mean, they flirted with him before. They had him on Forbidden Door. He lost his match because his opponent, but then they gave him like the pre-show match. He kind of got screwed out of his match on that show. They brought him back for this. There's obviously some interest there. I like Lawler, and I wouldn't mind seeing him, come into this company as a permanent fixture. But this was all right. This was kind of in the pantheon of the rest of this show. I mean, it was kind of forgettable
for sure,
but because there were some great matches coming up. Keith Lee, Shane Taylor. They really worked slow by design, But the most memorable spot in the match is going to be that Canadian destroyer off the fucking top rope with 2 guys who were like 350 pounds. I mean, was just disgusting. And at that point, you're like, oh, well, Shane Taylor's definitely losing because he had to get that spot in to get himself, you know what I mean? Before that's one of those spots in pro wrestling where you're like, oh, the guy's going to lose now.
Right. Where that the guys were in the back saying, all right, so Shane's thinking, and Lee's probably helping him out with this as well. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going over. What are we going to, we got to do something so that people, at the end of the match, people remember you too. I'm going to go over, but we got to do something for you. What's that thing for you? And they decided we'll do a fucking top rope Canadian destroyer. And it worked because we're talking about it right now. So it absolutely worked. Shane Taylor lost the match, but it didn't matter. They did the handshake afterwards, a slightly begrudging handshake, but a handshake nonetheless. And yeah, that's the most remarkable part of this entire match. I liked it. I mean, like, I'm looking at Cage Match right now and they have a 4.76 on this match. I think it's way better than that. I just don't think it was great, but I thought the style that they want to work and the idea behind the match all kind of worked for me and worked for the feud that these guys had. And it worked for who these guys were. So I I didn't hate it. I just don't think it wasn't great and it wasn't spectacular, and there were far better matches on this show, obviously. But I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at all. I thought I enjoyed myself watching that match. And I think it's funny because they had Keith Lee confront Shane Strickland on one of their, or Swerve Strickland, whatever I'm supposed to call him, on one of their 19 shows this week, didn't they? So it looks like they're going to do that match finally. The Keith Lee Swerve Strickland match. So.
I am not going to say that that's going to happen. I do not have any confidence.
Maybe they should just keep teasing it forever.
Yeah,
and never do
I
it.
think that's probably the better gimmick. Is just every week they do that, and you're like, or every 9 months they have them like look at each other, and you're like, oh baby, here it is, and then like you forget about it. Then 9 months later, you're like, here it is, and then it never ever happens. I'd actually enjoy that gimmick. That'd be so on the nose. I'd actually appreciate it.
So the Blackpool Combat Club, the three big guys, no Wheeler to muck it up, versus FTR and Mark Briscoe, the Jay Briscoe, I guess, tribute match. I'm just watching this and I'm thinking, this is my kind of wrestling, man. Just sweat flying, dudes being dudes.
Dudes. This was a dudes match, man.
Just fucking each other up, just out there wrestling hard and fighting.
Think of how they came out to the ring, too. You know what I mean? Just no bullshit, no things. Nobody had things. Nobody did twists or dances or anything like that. They just came out like dudes. They just walked to the ring and waited for the other dudes to come out. And then the other dudes came out through the crowd with their jackets on, took them off. Everybody stared at each other in the bell ring. And they beat the fuck out of each other for 25 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, and then they get the double count out or whatever, and you know they're gonna restart.
Yeah.
And then
perfect to have Briscoe do it too. He goes, nah, fuck that shit.
Great promo. I mean,
so
and then he's saying that, and I'm ready to rip my shirt off and join the match.
right.
I'm like, hell yeah, no, we're not ending like this. I'm like tearing my shirt off. I'm ready to fall on some fucking thumbtacks, and then they restart. And everything before the restart was just, I'm in my own personal pro wrestling heaven. This is what I want out of my pro wrestling. And then everything after the restart was just beautiful is the word that's coming to my mind. This beautiful symphony of violence with guys just destroying each other. And, the gimmicks came out because it became a fight without honor at that point. And you just know that Bryan Danielson in the back lobby, he's like, I want to take that Jay Driller on a pile of fucking chairs.
Absolutely.
And, guys go through tables, and then one by one, people are getting picked off and kind of knocked out on the outside. And then you got Danielson and Mark Briscoe, and those chairs are stacked. And Danielson's talking shit, and you just know he's eating that Jay Driller on those chairs and taking that pin. And he does. And then, the match is over, and, I don't have to think about it for 1 second. That's a fucking 5-star match.
That's fantastic. I'm with you.
This is as good as pro wrestling can be. It was just everything about it, from, the emotion and thinking about Jay Briscoe and the restart and the promo and then just the physicality of it. And then, everything that happened after the restart. It doesn't get any better than this to me. This is one of the easiest 5 stars I've ever given out. I just, for very different reasons than like an Okada Tanahashi Wrestle Kingdom match or something like that, or some Will Ospreay match against Shingo, for very different reasons, but just as easy. I just, you give me this, you give me a match like this, and you can't. I mean, you can't bottle this emotion, and you can't. And intellectually, I know you can't. But if you give me a match like this on every pay-per-view, I mean, this is everything I want out of my pro wrestling. It just hit me everywhere that it needed to hit me, and I fucking loved it. And this is a match that I know I will rewatch many times over the course of my life. I loved it. I don't know. I loved it.
Now, you compare it to anything that we watched on the NXT show, and think of all the heart that was in this match, and all the energy, and all the stuff that was in this match, compared to just the plastic veneer of this bullshit that you get on so much other wrestling across the world right now. This was just the bell rang and 6 guys just fucking fought. You know what I mean? They had a professional wrestling match. They had a fake fight, here. And Paul Wenning brings up a great point in the Noto chat room is that, Mark Briscoe did the fuck that shit. This is a fight without honor, and then does the stage dive like immediately after. It's just so good.
Yeah.
Like the chaotic energy of all these guys and just guys being dudes. You know what I mean? Just guys being dudes and going out there and fucking wrestling. It's what's so great about it is how simple it is and how this can be done all the time. I mean, you can't. Maybe it's not going to be as good because these guys you're talking about elite level guys in terms of Danielson and Claudio and Moxley and FTR and Briscoe. Like these are top tier dudes. But like this kind of energy and this kind of vibe can be done a lot. It can be done more than it is.
And you know what it is? And this is we've talked about this before, but this is the kind of heart and emotion that AEW can uniquely do.
Yeah,
that
nobody else can do
so
this.
It's so much harder for WWE to get this feeling in a match. I mean, look last week with Roxanne Perez in that cage. It's just so manufactured and fake and plastic and just junk. And then you compare it to this. It's. I'm not saying that WWE can never capture this kind of feeling, but it's so much harder for them to do it. And with the AEW.
Well, think about they tried to do that. Remember that Usos versus Zayn and Owens match that some people really liked. Like that's kind of what they were going for here.
Yeah, and it didn't feel anything.
No,
like that. Yeah,
no.
And it's just it's just and this is then we're gonna get MJF back on TV, and you just. Hopefully he's learned and, he's going to get away from some of his worst instincts that we've seen. But, and I know everything, there's something for everyone. I just can't wrap my brain around someone watching like the Brochachos and then watching this and like,
right. It's
wanting to see
man, I wish I had more of the other stuff. Yeah. I wish they would tell some
get it.
stories.
Like I can't,
right.
I can't understand that. I personally can't understand. I can't get. It doesn't compute with me. But yeah, no, I thought this was just. I don't have any more superlatives. I mean, it wasn't. I just I watched this match and it ends and I'm just like, that's perfect pro wrestling to me. Doesn't get any better than that. So, and it doesn't matter at all that Bryan Danielson lost that match. It was the right winner, obviously. And to me, the right guy lost. And it doesn't matter that he's in the middle of the tournament. It doesn't matter that, he has other stuff going. Like, it was just perfect. Everything about it was perfect. And guys can lose in a scenario like that. And it doesn't, that doesn't take any of the juice out of him with this Continental Classic at all. We talked about Eddie Kingston and Anthony Henry. So the main event was Athena and Billy Starks. And okay, so this was without a shadow of a doubt the best Billy Starks match I've ever seen, because I've never seen Billy Starks have a good match. I mean, I've spoken about her before. I thought she was wildly overrated as a teenager, and I guess she's still a teenager. She's 19. Uncoordinated, just not good, right? And I've never seen her have a match, and I've seen plenty of Billy Starks matches approaching the quality of this one. I will say what she does well. Her facials and her selling at 19 years old are as good as anyone in the business. Her facials and knowing how to be sympathetic as a babyface. Okay. Incredible in this match. That was what stood out to me more than anything. More than anything Athena did, more than anything Billy Starks did, was Billy Starks' facials and emotion and her selling. The physical stuff is getting better as she gets older. She doesn't look like an uncoordinated goof. Like she did when
she
she
still
was younger.
can't run, and it feels like every spot takes a little extra couple of seconds to get going.
Listen, she is not a finished product at all, and she's still overrated. Okay, because like you're saying, there was one spot towards the end where she came off and was like giving a forearm to Athena,
and it just looked like shit. I mean, just nothing behind it. The little choppy steps that I can't stand when people hit the ropes. So there's things like that still need some work, and she's 19. But she does a lot of the little things and the non-physical things really well. And a lot of times those are the harder things for wrestlers to get.
For sure.
And a lot of wrestlers overlook that stuff even deep into their careers. There's like wrestlers that are 40 years old who still aren't good at that stuff. So from that standpoint, that I was very impressed with.
Well, I thought it was telling in this match particular too, because the match started out and you could tell a lot of these fans are not regular Ring of Honor watchers. They don't care. So when Billy Starks comes out, they're kind of like, whatever. They either don't know who Billy Starks is, they don't really care who Billy Starks is. Then Athena comes out and they pop for her because I think they're probably aware of who she is and they know Athena. And then they announce that she's from Texas or whatever. And then they're all on Athena. And credit to both them, and particularly credit to Billy Starks. By the time this match was over, almost 100% of that crowd was rooting for Billy Starks because they told a very, very good underdog babyface story with her. And like you said, she emotes great and sells great and was so good at being a sympathetic, young wrestler babyface against the, dastardly heel veteran and got the crowd that was almost 100% behind Athena at the beginning, completely turned and 100% behind Billy by the end of the match, which I thought was really a credit and a testament to both of them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about with Starks, because she does those things that I talked about so well that she can get the crowd behind her. The match was a little too long for my taste. I thought Athena and Willow was too long too, but what they're doing with Athena is they're putting her in these main events and they're letting her work 30-minute matches and they're really building the entire brand around her, and so that's kind of the idea behind that. And I know a lot of people were surprised that she won. I was a little surprised, but what bothered me was the post-match. The post-match was just awful. Okay, you have Athena win the match, and the story all along has been Billy Starks finally had enough of this bully, turns on her, has this match with her, and
proves that she can hang with her, proves that
she can hang with her.
She can hang.
Yeah, and then Athena wins, and then basically it's, all right, well, I proved you can't beat me, kid, so I'm going to own you again. And Starks is okay with that and just shakes her hand. And it's like, then what the fuck was the point of all this if we're right back to square one where Athena is still Billy Starks' dom, and she's just part of her fucking crew.
Well, and we did the thing where Billy puts the hand out and Athena doesn't want to shake it, and then Billy does acting, and she goes, "What do you want from me? I don't know what you want from me." And then Athena turns around and says, "You can be a minion." And then Billy goes, "Yeah," and smacks her hand. And I was like, "What? No." I thought the whole point.
Why is she back to being a minion? It's like, so that the post match sucked. The way you play this is Athena is annoyed that she almost got beat by someone who she thought she was going to handle very easily. And, Billy maybe wants to offer the handshake and Athena refuses and storms out.
Exactly.
And looks like a sore winner.
Right, and says, "Come on, Lexi, let's go." Kind of that sort of shit where she doesn't want to admit that Billy took her to the absolute limit, and it took Athena everything in her power to put Billy away when she thought that she wasn't ready, and she declared that she wasn't ready to go and didn't have the killer instinct and wasn't ready to fight and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was going to play out. Billy sticks the hand out. Athena says, has a little bit of moment, and then just kind of says, "Come on, Lexi, let's go," and then goes to the back and kind of tucks her tail and gets out of there. That's the way to play it.
Yeah. But I guess they want to keep them alive. They're going to realign them in the story. I don't know. I hated this.
Did not like that. No, I agree. I'm with you.
The post-match sucked. And then on the TV, they announced, they're going to have an ROH women's TV title, which, look, I don't understand why the Converse needs to have 4 women's singles titles before they have a women's tag team title. You want to add a women's tag team title to ROH? Okay. I think that's a good idea. It gives the rest of the women's roster something to fight over. You've got those Renegade twins who I think have real potential and I like them a lot. You could build the titles around them, whatever you want to do. Why do we need 4 singles titles for the women in this, extended umbrella company before we even have one set of tag team titles? I don't get that. So, it's almost like Athena dominates the world title. Now we're going to have a television champion, but and we have 2 women's titles in the AEW side of the company already. Why not do a tag title?
It's just a lot.
Must add another title.
There's a lot of what feels like very redundant titles in this company, like you said, and not. It feels like very few of these titles are unique, and the worst thing is that, to your point about the 6-mans, like there's something unique you can do about those 6-man titles and it be on high flyers and luchadors and that sort of stuff. But they don't do it. Just ends up like all these titles are just on people and they don't really have any identities, or there's no real, there was a time where the TBS title felt like a thing and the TNT title felt like a thing. Like, 'cause in the early days of the TNT title, it was very clear what the ethos of that title was. And it felt different from the world title. And you can understand why somebody wanted the TNT title or was fighting for that. The TBS title used to have a vibe about it. Now it feels like there's like 9 titles in this company, or 10, or whatever the fuck number is, and they all just kind of, I don't know, they all feel the same.
Yeah,
to me.
the TNT title used to be like the Open Challenge title,
right,
but
right.
now Orange Cassidy was doing the Open Challenge gimmick with the international title. So the titles don't look
right. What's the difference now? Now, like what feels very different about the TNT title versus the international title or whatever? Nothing,
right? They don't have, these titles don't have identities, like you're saying. And I'm not someone who's like, oh, too many titles. I have very much of the belief, and I've always believed this, that it's what you make of the titles. Okay. You only have too many titles if, like we're saying, none of them have an identity, none of them have a purpose, none of them are protected well. Then yeah, you could have too many titles with 4 titles if you don't book them well. As much as you could have too many titles with, what do they have, 14 total titles or something like that between the 2 companies, let alone stuff like the FTW title and things that aren't really titles. It's not the number of titles, it's how you book them, how you treat them, and how you present them. And that's the issue here, not the raw number of titles. Because if there was a clear distinction, like there used to be, between the TNT title and the international title, then it would be fine. If there's a clear pecking order between the titles, it would be fine. If there was a clear identity, like, if the 6-man titles were the action title, it would be fine. Why do we need 4 women's singles titles under this umbrella? I don't, if you do a tag title, at least it makes ROH feel a little different than AEW too, because ROH then is the brand that has the women's tag team titles. Now it's just both have 2 singles women's titles for some reason, so I don't get that. I'm not opposed to adding another title. I just wish they were doing something a little different. I liked when AEW, now the tournament was the shits, but when they had those medals for the women's tag team, it was Ivelisse and I think Diamante, right?
Yes. And then Ivelisse, and then that all ended there. But
right, that ended that. But they won that atrocious tournament. That was the YouTube tournament.
That tournament. It had the fucking dactyl was in it, and oh god, that tournament was so bad.
Dasha, an announcer, had to wrestle because they ran out of people, right? And so I'm not, praising the tournament itself, which was awful. They did a Battle Bowl gimmick with random partners, and it was some of the worst wrestling you'll ever see. But I liked the idea, because you had the winners got these medals, and then they wrestled on TV with the tag medals. And I was like, okay, well, this is a little different. So every year we'll do this tournament, right? And the winning team will get the medals, and you won't defend them like a title. You're just the fucking tournament winner, and you wear the medals all year. And it's thinking outside the box, and it's a little different, and it's a little wacky, and all right. But then Ivelisse, like you said, did what Ivelisse always does and gets fired, and it just kind of gets forgotten. And then they add the second singles title, which, was obviously just strictly a device to get Jade over.
Right,
let's be honest.
But again, that title had an idea and an identity behind it. Yeah, and it felt different.
But then when Jade's gone, now what? Now it's just another fucking title.
Now Chris Statlander has it, and it's just like, all right, well, okay, cool. What's
now we have 2 women's champions for some reason, right? So that's the problem with rolling out a title specifically to get one person over, is that now you're stuck with that title, right? And now we're going to add a second women's title to ROH, which seems completely unnecessary. It just should have been a tag title, because that would have been different. It would have set ROH apart. And it's too many singles women's titles, when the glaring hole, the thing you're missing, was a tag team title, because you don't even have one in AEW. So I don't know. That's my stance on that. But the Athena Billy Starks match, low level notebook match for me. So, all told, I think I had 5. Yeah, I had 5 notebook matches on this. This was a great show.
It was. Julia Hart, by the way, TBS champ. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I know people are probably screaming, Julia Hart has the championship. I know. Sorry. Julia Hart. But again, it speaks to the point of, okay, great. Julia Hart has the title. What is the point of the TBS? It doesn't have any sort of identity or whatever. Notebook for me, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I had 5. So
I'll tell you something else. The NWA TV title with the 6:05 time limit that they used to have, they don't have it anymore, I don't think.
No, they don't.
Again, that made the title unique.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it set it apart. And we praised it at the time. Where it's like, all right, they have a TV title, and because it's a television title, it has a 6-minute and 5-second time limit, harkening back to history, right? And it makes the title feel different. You have to rest, the commentators would put over that the strategy has to be different, right? And then they did the thing where if the champion had 7 successful defenses, they earned a world title shot. Whether they won or win or draw, but if you successfully survive with the title for 7 straight matches, you get a world. But that's something that made it feel different. If the TBS and TNT title had like a strict 10-minute time limit or something because it's a television belt, that's setting it apart. That's making it feel different. Then the TNT title would feel different than the international title. Because, this is a TNT title. It's a television title. It's a 10-minute time limit. The international title, that's something different. That's, a regular 60-minute time limit, whatever the case. But now this just feels like a company that has two companies under the same umbrella with just a blob of 15 titles that outside of the world title, they all feel like there's nothing special or different about any of them. And that's the problem, not the raw number of titles. Could they use a few less? Yeah, I guess. But
they could also it would just take a little bit of effort to make them matter.
Right.
Yeah, to make them matter. It's probably just a lot easier at this point just to make these titles matter as opposed to getting rid of them.
Yeah. Now, if you want to merge a couple, I'm not going to argue with you. I think it'd be a good idea to do a TBS and women's world title unification and then do the women's tag team title in AEW. I mean, but for whatever reason, they're stuck with this second women's title, single title. I don't know. We can repeat the same points all night, I guess. But
right. Great pay-per-view, though.
Yeah, great pay-per-view. Yeah, I thought it was great. Cage match agrees, 8.48. As I'm looking at it now with, plenty of votes in, obviously, since it was several days ago. Yeah, so that was Final Battle. I will not be watching the TV, and I will see you in 3 months or whatever when they have their next pay-per-view.
Right, for Supercard of Honor or whatever. So, all right. Before we get to your questions, Joe, real quickly, RevPro Uprising 2023. This is RevPro On Demand if you want to watch the replay of this show. Main event was Will Ospreay versus Gabe Kidd. I haven't seen any of it, so I can either... Do you want me to lead you through the show, or do you want to kind of quickly go over the show? How would you best want to attack RevPro Uprising?
So I can blow through it real quick. They had it at the Crystal Palace. There were a lot of pictures going around online about the poor attendance. A lot of those pictures, I am told, are from before the show started, so they were a little deceptive. Those Brit wrestling fans, they want to make sure that everything gets shit on. But it still wasn't a great house, though. I was talking to Ian Hamilton, and he was estimating maybe about 600 people, which you can fit more people in that building. So not a great house. Oddly, RevPro has been a little cold since the Copper Box show, which you thought might be a launching pad for them, but hasn't really worked out that way for whatever reason. But and I didn't think the crowd was great either, in terms of reactions. It could have been because it was a larger than building than usual, and there were some empty seats, and maybe the high, maybe the cavernous, but it just didn't seem like the crowd was super into the show either, even for the main event, honestly, for large portions of it. But anyway, Zack Sabre Jr. versus JJ Gale opened it up, and they set up this match. I think at the Copper Box, right, is where they set this match up.
Yeah.
But Sabre beats him. A neat and tidy 10-minute or so match where he used the does he call it the Euro clutch, where he does the backwards bridge? And
it's probably got some cheeky name that I don't know. So
most guys in New Japan counter it either with a choke or they turn it into a pin, but he won it with that. And I thought that was cool because a guy at JJ Gale's level is going to get beat with that move, right? So I thought it was a good finish. Gale had just made a big run to come back, and he had all the momentum, and the crowd was behind him. And then Sabre hit that little bridging pin combo that he uses, and he beat him. So the story is JJ Gale just isn't ready to beat a guy at Sabre's caliber. So then it was Spike Trivet or Spike Trivet, as they were. I've heard it said both ways. The commentary was saying Trivet this time around versus Robbie X in a street fight. Rich Craich. At times it was hard to tell these men apart in their jeans with their knee pads pulled over the top and their t-shirts.
Were they tucked into the boots? Were jeans tucked into boots?
Yeah, man.
All
This is their street fight gear out there. But, you plunder. You can picture this in your head. And Trivet wins it when the referee stops it. He's putting the beating on Robbie X. And he wins the street fight. Cruiserweight title, Leon Slater is your new Cruiserweight champion. He beats Connor Mills.
This match had me excited. So how did it turn out?
It wasn't any good. Don't waste your time.
Really?
Damn.
Yeah,
very disappointing match. Very disappointing match. It just didn't land. It was Mills was working very methodical and beating down Slater, and I got what they were going for, but it didn't work, and the crowd didn't give a fuck. This was the portion of the show where just nothing was working for this crowd, and this match was a dud. I mean, it just did not. I would go maybe 2.5 generously if I had to put stars on it. So not a great way to kick off Leon Slater's Cruiserweight title reign, but there you go.
Man.
Tag League final, British Tag League. Greedy Souls defeat Ricky Knight Jr. and Anthony Ogogo. They did a deal where RKJ was taken away to get looked at for a concussion. So Ogogo was by himself. And, Greedy Souls are beating him down. But then RKJ makes the valiant, he comes running down the aisle, all bandaged. He had like gauze in his nose and all bandaged up. And then the baby faces are making the big comeback. And then Ogogo turns on RKJ and knocks him out with a right hook. And Greedy Souls get the easy pin. So Anthony Ogogo turns heel, and the Greedy Souls are your British Tag League champions. And they would come back later in the show, and I'll get to that as I run through. Ishii versus Luke Jacobs 2. Great match. Act surprised. I thought the first one was better, but this was also great. I'd probably go maybe 4.25. Yeah, I mean, two meaty men slapping meat. I did think that the first one was a better match, but this one was great too. The big key here was Jacobs challenged Ishii for another. He's like, I know I can beat you. I want one more shot.
One more,
so do a third
all
one.
right.
So, and I think Jacobs will win that one. Because I don't think New Japan gives a fuck. That's number one. And you can't just beat them 3 times in a row. Like, you know what I mean? So they're going to do it again. I don't know when. And I think Jacobs is going to win. Danny Luna won the women's title from Alex Windsor. It was a match that happened and existed on the show. I don't know. I don't have much more to say. They took the intermission at this point, and, not everybody was in their seats and everything else. It was fine. But the crowd wasn't into a lot of these matches. Like, that was one of the big problems on this show. Volador Jr. beat Trent Seven. Trent Seven's doing the gimmick where he's calling himself the best luchador in the world. He's doing a heel shtick. So he came out in a mask and all that. And that's been the story coming into this one. And, Volador beat him. It was fine. Like, I'd say like a 3-star match. This wasn't a great show, in case you haven't noticed. This wasn't as I go through these matches.
It doesn't sound like one to clear the calendar for, but I'm hopeful the main event.
No. Oku beat Zach Gibson. Again, this didn't work for me. Maybe 3 stars, somewhere in that range. The post-match is really all that mattered here. So Oku retains the title, and Zach Gibson gets jumped by the Greedy Souls, and you know where this is going. So the other member of the Grizzled Young Vets comes running out, and we've got ourselves a tag team feud, Rich. So it's going to be the Grizzled Young Vets and the British Tag League champs, the Greedy Souls. That's going to be the next program for both of those teams. And then the main event was Ospreay versus Gabe Kidd. And I didn't like it. This match didn't work for me.
Man.
I know what the problem was. I don't like Gabe Kidd right now. I don't like him in New Japan. I don't like him here. The Bullet Club War Dog stuff is just off-putting to me. It's got the wrong kind of heat with me. And this was a different kind of Will Ospreay match. They went right at it at the bell, and it was gritty and it was hard hitting. And Ospreay won it via ref stoppage. He was like an MMA finish, elbows to the back of Gabe Kidd's head, and Kidd couldn't defend himself. So the ref stepped in and ended it, which fit what they were. But I don't know. It dragged on to me. I didn't think it was a bad match. Will Ospreay has a certain floor you expect, and this didn't hit it. This was not a notebook match for me. Now, Cage Match disagrees. Cage Match is they're 8.87. So, for listeners, you might like it. It seems like I'm the outlier, but this did not work for me. And the crowd didn't seem to be into a lot of it. This show was just lifeless. They were into JJ Gale early in the show. They were into Ishii and Luke Jacobs. They were into that match big time. And they really weren't into much else. They were into the Ospreay.
That's not good when you mentioned the opener, the match in the middle, and that's kind of all that the crowd was into. And the
main event they were into at points, but even the main event lost them at points too, as well. Okay. I thought, and I don't know, it's fine, but this was not, this wouldn't be one of Will Ospreay's 30 best matches this year, in my opinion. And then Ospreay did the promo where he said he'll be finishing up in February with RevPro, but he's not leaving without the title. So he called out Oku, and then they went nose to nose. And it looks like Ospreay is going to work that as a heel because he was making gestures towards what's Oku's I always forget her name.
Amira.
Because remember last time the story of their match, right? With Amira and everything. So Ospreay was like, being disrespectful towards her again and waving at her and saying he's going to leave RevPro with Michael Oku's title. So obviously, Oku's going to win that match and complete the story as Will Ospreay moves on from RevPro for now. But I didn't think it was a very good show, but they set up a bunch of stuff, so we'll have Greedy Souls versus Grizzled Young Vets. We'll have Will Ospreay versus Michael Oku. They did some other angles too. Oh, I guess Spike Trevette got run off by Sha Samuels, I think it was. So they set some stuff up. Luke Jacobs, Tomohiro Ishii 3. You get the sense that the JJ Gale, Zack Sabre Jr. stuff isn't done. So from that point, it was a well-booked show, but I just thought a lot of the matches didn't land. That's all. So that was RevPro Uprising, and that's how they finished their year.
There you go. So that is RevPro Uprising. I'll probably try to watch that main event at least just to kind of finish out my Ospreay year.
You might like it. Listen, you might like the main event. It seems like everybody else did. It had my full attention, and I couldn't get into it. I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, that was one I definitely wanted to check out. I was kind of waiting for what else to watch on the show, but it feels like maybe I'll watch the Jacobs Ishii and definitely watch Ospreay and Kid, but maybe skip the rest of it or see where we go with that. But that is RevPro. And we are, I think, just about ready to go to questions. I'm going to do a quick little ad read here, and then we'll get to your your questions. We'll maybe go a little bit long on this week's show, since I think we have some pretty good questions here that I'd like to answer before we bid you adieu for the holidays here. But I do want to let you know this week's episode of the Flagship Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Magic Mind. And Joe, you know me, I drink a lot of coffee. Sometimes I get myself so chock full of caffeine from coffee that I'm unfocused. I have trouble staying on topic or getting my mind together. And hey, those things happen a lot of times on this very podcast, many, many times. But worse yet, I always get the dreaded crash, especially when we're doing a 3-hour show like this. But thankfully, though, Magic Mind has now entered my life. This little shot has improved my mornings, and more importantly, it has improved my days so much. It's easy to incorporate into my morning routine. It tastes great, and it helps me stay on track throughout the day. And instead of reaching for that second, third, or fourth cup of coffee to get me through the day, I take this little shot, and I'm good to go. Magic Mind gives me mental energy, mental focus. It helps me sleep better, and I've been able to be more creative and more focused as well. Magic Mind has all natural ingredients sourced from the best suppliers around the world. It has no sugar. It's nut-free, vegan, keto, and paleo-friendly as well. Now it is time for you to join me in transforming your days and your nights. Visit magicmind.com/flagship and use the promo code flagship20 to get either 56% off your first subscription of Magic Mind or 20% off your first one-time purchase of Magic Mind. Magic Mind has a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked, so there's really no risk. If you don't like it or it isn't improving your days, they will refund you in 3 to 4 hours. No questions asked. Again, 100% money-back guarantee on there. So once again, add Magic Mind to your morning routine at magicmind.com/flagship, and make sure you use that promo code flagship20 for up to 56% off your subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase of Magic Mind. And of course, we thank them for sponsoring this episode of the Flagship Podcast. All right, you ready to open the Christmas mailbag here?
All right.
All right. We'll start with
I'm
Malcolm.
really in the spirit here.
Oh, yeah, jeez. Scrooge here. God damn, Grinch over here. Malcolm says, when do you guys believe is the appropriate time to start putting up Christmas decorations and music in the stores? Now, I know your answer versus your wife's answer, but when do you believe is the appropriate time to put up Xmas decorations?
You know my wife better than me then. What's her answer?
I would say she seems like an early Christmas decorator. She seems like, well, I don't know. Is she a Thanksgiving respecter, though? Like, does she let Thanksgiving happen and then the Christmas stuff goes up? Or are we talking like right after Halloween, we're going Christmas?
You know, I should know the answer to that. I don't remember.
I feel like she's an early, because I feel like sometimes you'll send me stuff in like April and it's like, you know, some summer. Well, I guess it's Texas, so it's probably already hot as shit by April. But I feel like she's an early. I'm a after Thanksgiving. It has to be after Thanksgiving. I don't think you can put up before Thanksgiving.
I don't know what the fuck's going on around here. I have no idea.
You wake up and things are places and things are, yeah.
I don't know. There's fucking 2 trees. There's one downstairs. There's one upstairs.
I got 3. I got 3 trees in my house.
I don't know when they went up, but what's the fucking question? When
do you believe is the appropriate time to start putting up Christmas decorations?
I don't care. Whenever my wife wants to do it, keep her happy.
Whatever makes her happy.
That ain't a fight I'm picking. I mean, I couldn't care less. I mean, you know, you gotta pick your battles, and that, believe me, that ain't one of them.
That's not one for Joe Lanza. Yeah, that's not one for him to pick. Music in stores. I don't know. Were you ever in charge of the music at any of your, you know, restaurants or anything that you were in charge of? Or
a lot of times there's you have a contract with like a digital music deal. And it would just, like, on December whatever 1st, it would just switch over automatically. So you weren't, it depends on the restaurant, obviously, but you weren't ever really in control of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, whatever music package you pick, whether it's top 40 or whether it's, you know, adult contemporary or whether it's, I worked at one place that had, like, an island theme. So, yeah, we had
steel
like,
drums all the time.
Yes, that like calypso music and shit, which was awful. But generally,
that's fun for like an hour. Like dong 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 dong.
Yeah,
like oh my god, enough.
Yeah, but generally those digital music channels will just automatically switch on like December 1st or the day after Thanksgiving or whatever, and you don't have any control.
Right, and that's the appropriate time. Anytime before Thanksgiving is too ridiculous, and yeah, anything after Thanksgiving, fine, open it up, it's fine. Black Friday, light the music up. Who cares? Whatever. It's only going to last a month, and then your life is over, and then it doesn't get played again for another year, and that's fine. So. Matthew asks, I don't know if you can reveal this yet, but Joe, what are the kids receiving for Christmas?
I stay out of it. I don't know.
You don't know what they're getting?
I know it, like some, they're getting toys and shit, stuff they're getting toys.
Listen
they're
to
getting
you.
toys. They're getting toys they're gonna play with, and then we'll be giving them away to the fucking Goodwill in 6 months, like we always do. I don't know. They're getting a bunch of fucking toys. I don't. They ask for things, we find them. Do
you know what the things are? Do we have any examples of these things, or they're getting things?
Toys that 6-year-olds play with, like Lego sets and fucking whatever they're into currently. Which with kids it changes like every 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like they're into something, like they'll be into Peppa Pig, and then a month later, like they're not into Peppa Pig anymore. Like it changes on the fly, But yeah, I don't know. Look. Brittany handles it. Brittany handles
what do you do? It doesn't sound like you do anything. Hold on a minute.
It's now. All right. I'll give you one. You want one?
I want one.
I'll give you a fun one. I was doing my Christmas shopping for TLB yesterday, which means I was just on Amazon, peeking at the things that she has looked at on her
voicesofwrestling.com/Amazon, of course. Right.
So what I'll do is I'll go on her account and see the things that she has looked at. Then I'm like, oh, all right. Well, then I know, and then I'll get her some things, and then I'll get her some things, and then I'll get her. But so I'm doing her Christmas shopping on the Amazon, and I did order something for the kids. You know what I ordered them yesterday on Amazon, and it was and it's going to be full circle. I ordered them sea monkeys, Rich.
Oh my god! Hell yeah!
Because all this sea monkey talk. And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe
those
the kids would
cool.
enjoy growing some sea monkeys.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
Little stocking stuffer kind of deal, So I ordered them each a fucking sea monkey aquarium, and we'll see who can keep their sea monkeys alive longer.
That's great. Yeah, sea monkeys. I remember there being fun for like a minute or two, and then you're like, all right, that's
You should read for fun. You should read the sea monkey reviews on Amazon, because there are sea monkey enthusiasts, Rich, that I bet you didn't know existed.
Of course there are.
Like there, yeah.
How can you be an enthusiast for sea? I mean, come on, you have to find something better.
I can tell you, because some of the reviews are like, I bought this particular, this is how I imagine they speak. I bought this particular brand of sea monkey, and the colony only lasted about 4 months.
Your brine shrimp. Yeah.
Other sea monkey colonies that I've had have lasted for many years, but I don't recommend this one because the colony only lasted a few. Like, that's how the reviews read. It's crazy. I didn't know there were sea monkey enthusiasts who referred to their sea monkeys as colonies, but they're out there. So how about that?
There you go. Wow.
My guess is the girl's colony will last longer than the boy's colony. His might not even hatch.
You won't even figure I think you just have to add them to water, right? Isn't that put these in water?
Yeah. There's something you have to do to the water first. Like the first packet, like, purifies the water or something. And then you scoop the eggs and put them in. And then it takes a couple days, but then you have to feed them with the other.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you don't think the boy is capable of
the boy, those things won't even fucking hatch. And he doesn't show interest in the pets in general. Like, he tolerates the pets. The girl is into the pets. Like, the girl loves the fucking cat. Okay. Miss Maggie Moo, who happens to be in here with me as I record the show. The girl loves her. Now, the cat isn't too fond of her. The cat just tolerates the girl. But the girl is the boy's not into the pets. So I think I don't even think those fucking things will hatch. But we'll see.
Excited.
I'm going to work them against each other. I'm going to say, hey, listen.
Big competition here. Yeah, who can get these sea monkeys?
Yeah, your brother was talking mess. He says that his are going to last. I'm going to rile them up and poke the bears and see if I can get their competitive juice is flowing a little. But yeah, there you go. I'm getting them sea monkeys.
Little NXT fans growing in the Lanza estate. Fantastic. All right. We'll go to Griffin, who says, what's the ideal time for Santa to drink the milk after the kids are put to bed? A few minutes, a few hours? Are parents drinking warm milk in the middle of the night? Do you guys do this gimmick? Do you do the Santa cookies and milk gimmick or no?
Yes, the kids are they're still believers for a couple more years, I think. They're starting to get onto it, though. The grandfather at the Christmas Eve party, he dresses up as Santa.
Right, because we had a later question that said, does Lance ever dress up as Santa? And if you remember from past times we've done this, your grandfather-in-law does that. So, yeah, you stay out of it. Yeah. Or father-in-law, your father-in-law.
So my father-in-law. So last year, the girl was onto him. She's like, that's Papa. And I'm like, no, it's not Papa. She's like, that's Papa. Yeah. So then he lowered the beard and he was like, just play along for the
give a little wink, yeah.
But she still believes in Santa though. But I think
her antennas are raised. She's wondering something doesn't feel on the up and up of this whole situation.
It doesn't feel on the up and up, but the thing is she wants to believe. Though.
Yes, yeah, that's good.
Like she's not asking questions to try to poke holes in it. She's like wanting to believe. The boy, he's like on another planet. I don't know what he thinks about anything, really. But he so we leave the cookies, the milk, and they also like to leave carrots for the reindeer.
Okay, fantastic. So I know that you're not eating those carrots. Those carrots, do you even take a bite out of the carrot, or you just toss
we have
those
to take bites.
Okay,
you have to do the gimmick where you take bites out of the stuff. And leave like, you know what I mean? You don't.
Yeah.
You know, you drink half the milk, you take a bite out of the carrot or the cookie, and then they, and you write a little. I like to write a little note from Santa too, like, thanks for the cookies, kid.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of cookies, so I couldn't finish these cookies. You write a little note.
Right.
And
are we talking store brand? Are you guys? Your Santa is a little more.
This Santa's from Bayonne, apparently. But
right. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. But yeah, that's how you do it.
So to Griffin's question, are you doing this like the kids? You tell they're in bed and you're gargling down the couple of sips of milk, or are you waiting a few hours and drinking this milk warm? Or are you like, they seem asleep, let's just drink the milk now?
You gotta wait a little bit in case they're excited. It's Christmas Eve, so you don't know if they're gonna try to sneak down. So you wait it out. You make sure they're into the deep sleep, and then you throw the shit under the tree and you do the gimmicks with the cookies and the milk, and you're safe by like maybe 1 or 2 a.m.
Right.
When they're in the deep sleep.
Yeah.
Then if they get up and start getting frisky at like 3 a.m., it's plausible that Santa already came. You see?
Right. So. Exactly. But you can't do it you can't do it at 10:45 and they come down.
Right,
like, what the fuck? You're like, he started
early. They go to bed at 8. You can't do it at 8:45.
Right.
You got to give it some time.
Sean asks, presents for pets, yay or nay? If yay, do you wrap them, or am I just being weird?
Go ahead, Rich.
No, I know you're anti-pet presents. I am very pro pet present. That's probably because I don't have children, but I am all in on pet presents, and I absolutely wrap them because it is hilarious to just get a box of dog toys, wrap them up, throw them onto the ground, and let the dogs. They know the gimmick now, to the point that it's so bad that when we try to open our gifts, they just rip open our bags now too. So we've actually created it's quite the conundrum here where we have to like go to and put our presents on a table sometimes just to get these damn dogs from ripping off, because they know it's Christmas. They know we throw the thing down. They get all excited and shit. So no, I am pro, and I guess it is a not having children makes it. Yeah, I gotta wrap presents for somebody, so the dogs get multiple presents and they can unwrap them in Christmas morning, just like we do.
I'm not going to say I've never gotten a pet Christmas gift, but have I wrapped it and made them like unwrap? No, absolutely not.
It's great. It's a great gimmick. You should try it. Get Miss Maggie Moo. See if she might do it.
Come on, she's not going to do that.
The cats won't do it. The cats won't do it. I was wrapping. We were getting my brother-in-law. He's got a cat, so I was wrapping one of the cat's gifts, And the nurse is like, it's a fucking cat. It's not going to play along with it. Dogs are dumb as fuck. You know what I mean? The dog's just like, oh, this thing's cool. And then, like, you know, they'll do it because they're dumb dogs. And you just tell them, hey, here's this present. Oh, okay. You know, cats are going to be like, nah, man, I'll open it when I want to open it and just leave it near my food and I'll figure out what I want to do with it later. So
the cat's going to look at me like I'm an asshole.
Right,
if I put a wrapped gift in front of the cat.
Exactly, right.
Respond to that.
Ewan says, now the flip side of that first question we had, when do you take down the Christmas decorations in your house? For us, it's New Year's Day, but I've heard as soon as Boxing Day.
What the fuck is Boxing Day?
You know what Boxing Day is. It's a
I've heard of it, but
we've
I don't
had
know
the
what
discussion.
it is.
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas.
All right. Is that some kind of Canadian shit?
No, I think it's celebrated. I think it's very celebrated in Canada, but it's celebrated elsewhere as well. I think Europe celebrates it a lot. Yeah, Boxing Day.
That's like some Iron Mike Sharp Canadian shit. That's what that sounds like. Boxing Day is a holiday celebrated after Christmas Day, occurring on the second day of Christmastide. Though it originated as a holiday to give gifts to poor people, today Boxing Day forms part of Christmas celebrations, with many people choosing to take advantage of Boxing Day sales observed by Commonwealth nations. Yeah, so there you go. Canada, Australia, what else? South Africa.
Yeah, I don't think it's very big in the United States. So, but I believe Ewan is a man from the British Isles.
Yeah, again, I don't know when the stuff comes down. These are better questions for TLB. I stay out of it. It's none of my business. So
I think you got to keep them up through New Year's is my theory. Like I'll drive around I'll drive around the neighborhood, and there's like sometimes people are throwing their trees out like the day after, and that's psychopath shit. You know what I mean? That is wild. Yeah. Now, like I know that like the reason a lot of people do it around me is like they'll throw it out for free, or like garbage will come that week and say, hey, if you give us, you know, the tree within the first week or two, you know, you can throw it away for free without any stickers or anything like that, because we have to put stickers on our stuff or whatnot. So I get that, but like you have another week. Why don't you wait like the day after Christmas? Like, do you tell the kids they unwrap the gifts? You're like, all right, kids, get these damn ornaments out of here and get that tree out there. It's like, man, like have some fucking let the season last a little longer there, pal. You paid $100 for this fucking tree. You might as well just keep it up a little bit longer. God, it's that's psychopath shit. That's just as keeping it up till April is psychopath shit. Throwing it out the next day is psychopath shit too. So
I think New Year's is fair, right?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
This is a wild question from Andrew. The actual St. Nicholas is the patron saint of many individuals, including broadcasters. I don't know if that's true. The falsely accused and prostitutes. If you guys were declared into sainthood, who are the kinds of people you'd want to advocate for, and what traditions would you want on your feast day? That seems like a very large question. I don't know if I'm ready to answer that on this show.
I would advocate for dumb jock wrestlers. That's who I would advocate.
The patron saint of dumb jock wrestlers. Yeah.
Dumb jock wrestlers.
Saint Lanza. Yeah, the patron saint of dumb jock.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jack said, has Joe ever dressed up as Santa for the kids? And if he hasn't,
never.
Would he? So you never have, and would you? I mean, now that's kind of out of the question.
No point. They're definitely going to know it's me. That's right. Like, again, I'd be Santa from Bayonne. They're going to know like me.
Hey, I don't get it. Get over here.
Yeah.
Listen, get over here.
Yeah, come on. I'm pretty distinctive, don't you think? Like,
right. And I don't think you could play it up well enough. I think Joe would come out at some point. Because I can't imagine you walking into a room and going like, ho, 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 kids. You know what I mean? Like, how long would that last for Joe Lanza to come in there with her?
Do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
I mean, the maybe one of the Fullers come, maybe. It's an idea.
Yeah, I could. That's right. I could
Tennessee Stud can come for Christmas.
The Tennessee Stud.
That might be more for
Santa.
TLB. Tennessee Stud might be more for TLB than the kids, but
Yeah. Wow.
Get a little Rhino XL, and it could.
Maybe that'll be in my. Maybe she'll get me some of that for my stocking. The Rhino XL.
Rhino XL. It's Rhino XL 5,000, right? There's a number attached to it, but is there? I don't know if there's more.
They're all different. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. Whenever the Food and Drug Administration catches up with them,
you have to come up with a new name.
It's yeah.
JB says, who creeped you out more, Old Man Marley from Home Alone 1 or the Pigeon Lady from Home Alone 2?
All right. Well, I never saw Home Alone 2, So
never saw
I
Home
have to
Alone
abstain
2.
from this one.
Yeah, the answer is Old Man Marley. He's pretty creepy, and the problem with the pigeon lady in Home Alone 2 is the gimmick already. You know what I mean? Like if you know. Like it's the exact same gimmick of like, oh, here's this creepy person, and it's like they're going to be misunderstood, and that Kevin's eventually going to talk to her, and she's going to actually be normal, or she's had some heartbreak in her life, or something like that. So that's essentially what it is. She's a lady that has a bunch of pigeons around her, and then Kevin talks to her, and she's like, oh, I used to be married, but then my husband left me, and now I'm with pigeons, and he's like, oh, you should reach out to people again. It's exactly what you would assume it would be. So it's exactly like the gimmick from Home Alone 1. So. She doesn't count because Old Man Marley was like creepy from the beginning until you knew what the gimmick was. But he does a pretty good job of being creepy. Plus, like everybody's got one of those dudes in their neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like the weird creepy guy.
Yeah. We had a guy when I was a kid who, whenever it would snow, he would get out his cross country skis and he would cross country ski around the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's the guy you got to watch out for. That's a kid. That's the guy where if he's cross country skiing past your house, you go back in for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Or your mom peers through the window just to make sure that he's getting by. But
right.
Yeah. Old Man Marley, creepy. Definitely creepier. Shane asks, what is your favorite adaptation of the Christmas Carol? I love the Muppets, but I also remember seeing a softcore porno version as a teenager on the appropriately named TV channel Men and Motors back in the 2000s. But I don't think that one counts. I think that one absolutely counts. Men and Motors television.
You know, the old Bill Simmons column on ESPN, he used to get weird letters and be like, now these are my readers. Now these are our listeners. Only our listeners would bring up the softcore porn version of A Christmas Carol.
On a TV channel called Men and Motors.
I don't even, it's not even a real thing, but
I looked it up. Men and Motors was a men's lifestyle television channel in the UK. It was the last remaining station operated by the former I don't know, whatever, some joint venture, some bullshit here.
Channel.
Yes, right. There's just a bunch of names and acronyms or whatever. Let's see what we get here. It doesn't say what was on Men and Motors, but I have no reason to believe that Shane would be lying about this. But the channel really took off after the appointment of Gary Schofield as director of programming. He quickly set about changing the presenters and the look and the feel, and took responsibility for both the acquisitions and newly produced programs. Schofield brought Jordan to the adult part of the channel, along with these other people that I think are all probably either adult actors or something. But there you go. So Men and Motors.
The best adaptation of A Christmas Carol is Scrooged, and
the Bill Murray one is what you're saying.
Yeah, I will not debate this. Yeah, that's the best adaptation of that story.
That's a pretty good one. I think I'm kind of there with you.
George C. Scott guy. George C. Scott.
Nah, see, the old versions kind of stink. They're weird. I think I'm there too. Yeah, I'm trying to remember now other ones that stick out to me. The problem is that's the one that always sticks out to me. So I guess that must be the one then, right?
You know who should do one? Larry David.
That would be good.
Now, I understand he's Jewish.
Yeah, never stopped. It never look. That stopped Hollywood.
Acting.
That stopped Hollywood. There would be a lot less Christmas movies. So
it's acting. So he would be a tremendous Ebenezer Scrooge. But how about Jim Carrey? You enjoyed the Jim Carrey version?
No, that one. No. I'm looking here as I'm scrolling the adaptations of A Christmas Carol to see if any other one jumps out at me. This one, as I scrolled just randomly, I was looking and I found this one. I said, "Oh, interesting. Relates to the show." Direct to DVD. The fourth one is Second Chance for Christmas in 2019, a direct to DVD reimagining a spoiled pop star, Brittany Underwood. I don't know who Brittany Underwood is, but she's a spoiled pop star, I guess.
Character's name. Probably character's name.
No, it looks like this is a person. I don't know who this is. She was on One Life to Live and Hollywood Heights, so I don't know what that is. Right. So she takes on the Scrooge role. This features, now listen to this, amazing collection of people. I'm going to watch Second Chance for Christmas. I'm not going to do it. But it features Tara Reid, Vivica A. Fox, Jim O'Hare, Mark McGrath, and finally, professional wrestler Rob Van Dam.
What the fuck? Wow.
That's not the
hell
wrestler
that
you
is?
thought I was going to say, right?
No.
Shucking it up with Vivica A. Fox and RVD in the same movie. That currently a 4.9 out of 10 on IMDb. Does not look like
Is it
it's
a Christmas Carol derivative?
apparently, yes. Second Chance to Christmas. It says, Jonathan Lipnicki is in it as well. They did not mention him.
Wow.
He's on the marquee here, though.
Did you know that Mark McGrath has a tiny penis?
No, good for him.
Yeah, that's a thing. Good for him.
Well, hey,
What do you mean?
I'm sure he's making it work. I think McGrath's probably doing all right.
I mean,
You think he's
I'm just
struggling?
saying he is
I don't think he's struggling with it.
struggling. What?
I don't think
Get
he's
booed? Like-
no.
No, I mean he's Mark McGrath.
I think he's an
I'm sure
inspiration to
he's
all of us.
gay.
Yeah,
Whoa.
me at least.
I want to
I don't
insult
know, I don't know about you. Maybe an inspiration to me.
small penis elk.
I'm gonna
you
bring
know,
that up. I'm
but,
gonna bring that up next time. Hey, Mark McGrath has a small penis.
Yeah. There you
I don't know
go.
if that's gonna work for the nurse. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I know you're
back
hot
next
for
time.
Mark McGrath. It's not really. Jeez.
You're like me and Mark McGrath, the threesome of your dreams.
Right.
Me and Mark McGrath and our tiny penises. This is what you've
Right.
always dreamed of.
You combine both of ours
And,
together, it's like a whole big size one. So there you go.
Wow. All right,
Mark
well,
McGrath, tiny
okay.
penis. So if I look up Mark McGrath, tiny penis, will it come up? You think?
I don't see why it wouldn't. He's looking rough these days. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Time has not been kind to Mark McGrath. Oh my God. What's wrong with this man's face? His tiny penis is the least of his problems.
Really? I don't think I've seen Mark McGrath in years. I know. Yeah.
Did he have bad plastic surgery? Or
Yeah.
something?
Oh, he looks like yeah.
I think he got some bad work done, right?
Yeah.
Or either that or
He's got that weird face where it's like you don't have any. Yeah. No, he's
he looks like Rocky Dennis. I mean, he is looking bad.
Yeah, that doesn't look good. So
he was a good looking guy in his day.
yeah. Could have aged gracefully, but now he looks like Max Headroom now. That's not good. You don't want to look like Max
He looks
Headroom.
like Max Headroom.
You
You're
don't
right.
want to look like Max Headroom. But
No.
there's Prince.org, the online fan community for Prince, has a whole thread about rock singer with small equipment.
Yeah.
John
He
Bon
pops up in
Jovi.
the
John
thread.
Bon Jovi is mentioned in here. I don't know if that's true
Never
or not,
heard
but
that.
yeah, I never heard that either. A lot of them just say Mark McGrath, so he's like very well known as having a small.
Yeah,
dick.
I told you. I didn't
Right.
make that up.
Yeah.
He's very well known for his tiny penis. I think he has spoken about it. So
Second Chance for Christmas, available on YouTube if you want to watch it. Apparently, thanks to the
well, now listen. No one's going to be able to look at Mark McGrath ever again and not think about his tiny penis.
his tiny penis. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hear him on the 120 on Sirius XM. 9 is on 9. Oh, Mark McGrath.
How many Sugar Ray songs do they play? What Sugar Ray do you get on there?
You get Fly. You always get Fly.
Yeah, gotta get
Every
Fly.
morning. You get every morning.
Yeah.
Someday you'll get some someday every so often. That's probably
They're all like the same song. Like,
yeah, they're not. Yeah,
they're real similar. Those songs.
every morning's pretty solid. So they're all.
I feel
solid,
bad.
yeah.
Does he have an illness or something? I feel bad for making fun of his face.
Let's find out. No, I think he just got bad plastic surgery. He's got the Dane Cook thing where it's just like, oh god,
yes.
he is the all time.
He looks like Dane Cook, Max Headroom, and Rocky Dennis from the movie Mask, all in one.
Right? Rocky
Yeah.
Dennis. The best part, so many people are going to be looking up Rocky Dennis. He doesn't really look like Rocky Dennis that much.
I think he does.
Poor Rocky Dennis. All right. Kim Wong, this will work for you. What is the biggest grift, Christmas or Valentine's Day? Look at this Scrooge over here.
What's the question?
What's the biggest grift, Christmas or Valentine's Day? Kim
Jeez.
Wong, yeah.
Jeez. I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything against Christmas.
Yeah, Valentine's Day for sure. Valentine's Day stinks.
You don't like Valentine's Day?
Nah, it's stupid.
I mean, I'm not a big
Joe, because
fan.
every day should be Valentine's Day if you really love your wife. Am I right?
Yes, indeed.
It's just so boring. It's like here's people are like, here's a card. Here's some flowers. It's like it's the least loving thing ever is to go to a Walgreens.
Right, because you know why? Because Yeah, because you feel obligated.
Right.
So
That's
it's like you
there's
have
no,
to,
it's like the least amount of love you could show your wife in any given part of the is. Here you go, Toots. I got to do this for you. So here's a card.
Here's your grocery store flowers and and your Whitman sampler. Here you go.
It's so lazy. Yeah, it's just so lazy. So that's definitely the biggest grift. Peter says, are you cool Christmas people, blue and white lights, classy, or warm Christmas people, yellow and multicolored lights / gaudy? Again, probably not up to you. But what is the household?
Again, none of my business. She does what she wants. We've got the colorful lights. No lights on the house though. Can you picture me getting up on a ladder with a fucking hammer?
Not picture you getting up on a ladder.
I told her, I said, look, if you want to hire one of those companies to come out to put the lights up, I'm okay with that. But
those are shockingly affordable. I don't do that because I still believe that I should go and do it.
$130.
Yeah, this year somebody told me how much they paid, and I was like, in the midst of me like untangling one of my wires and like putting it up and then it not working, and I was just like, how much was that again? Like, just maybe next year I finally do it. Bite the bullet there.
Yeah, it's affordable, but she just goes like she's got gimmicks out there, but no lights on the house.
That's fair.
Inflatable gimmicks, the gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the
you got a Frosty out there and
but no lights, but the inside lights are the tree lights are just the standard fucking colors. It's not anything.
You didn't know classy. Yeah. So here's the way you do it. You get 3 trees in your house like I do, and you can have classy and gaudy. So that's the way to do it. So speaking of classy, there you go. All right, a couple more of these here before we bid you adieu for the season. James says, as adults, how does the feeling of giving really good and thoughtful gifts to a loved one compare to getting a gift you really wanted as a kid? I always thought getting gifts couldn't be topped, but as I've gotten older, I find it really fulfilling when I knock a gift out of the park for somebody else. I think we've talked about this before, but I hate receiving gifts anymore. In my adult age, I hate getting gifts. I don't want gifts. I feel weird getting gifts. I feel like guilty getting gifts. I don't like the attention. I am 100%. Nobody get me anything. I will buy people stuff if they want, but don't buy me anything. Donate that money to an animal shelter. Buy my dog stuff if you must, but I don't want anything. I hate opening gifts now. I'm very anti-gift these days.
Yeah, we've talked about this many times over the years. I also am very uncomfortable receiving gifts. It makes me anxious, uncomfortable. The other thing is I'm a very, very simple man. I want for nothing. I feel so bad for my wife because I don't even know what to tell her to get me for Christmas. She just has to wing it every year because I legitimately cannot think of things that I want. I don't want anything. Like I'm pretty simple. My hobbies don't involve things like physical things, right? And I don't wear like jewelry and I don't collect anything. So there's nothing I want. Like I have gift cards from like Amazon gift cards and these Visa gift cards that people give me for Christmas. I never use them to the point where I end up just like selling them to my wife. I'll be like, oh, I got this $50 Amazon card. I'll give it to you for like, $30. And I just take the cash and then I don't spend the cash because I don't want anything. Like it's bizarre. Like, so I don't like getting gifts. I don't ask for
I'm post things. I don't need things anymore. I've had enough things in my life and I don't want any new things. And the things that I like to do, I don't need things to do that. So
right, that's right. Like we probably sound like really weird, like absolute weirdos and really boring people, which maybe we are. But I don't really want for anything. I can't right now this second. I can't think of anything I want. Is that weird? Like,
no, I'm the same way because people asked me this year and I was like, just don't give me anything. That's fine. Like donate money to an animal shelter is what I always kind of tell people. In like if you want to do something, you have money that you're like, oh, I must spend it. Fine, then donate it to something or whatever. but I don't need anything. And they're like, well, no, you gotta want something. And I like racked my brain for 48 hours, and they were like, so what do you want? I'm like, I don't know. I have nothing.
I really don't know. I don't know.
I can't honestly tell you a thing that I want. And finally, I gave them a thing that even then I was like, I don't really want this, but if you must, then fine, buy me this. And it's like, but I don't want that thing, but I'll take it, I guess. But then I said I could use some socks, and we're not going to get you socks. And I was like, all right, well, I gave you the thing that I wanted, and now you
don't want to give me the thing I want.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I want nothing. I want for nothing, and I guess that's a good way to be in life, to not want for anything. But I still love giving people gifts, because the nurse, let me tell you, the exact opposite. She needs quantity of gifts. Lots of them. She loves the attention, loves opening them. I'm the opposite. Just leave me alone. Let me watch some basketball. Everybody open their gifts. I'll have a great meal. I'll hang out, but I don't need to be opening gifts.
Yeah, I really just want to cook that day. I want to cook a meal, and it's for the kids. The kids love the
right.
And Christmas should be fun for the kids. A long time ago, the adults in my family have stopped buying gifts for each other. I mean, like my brothers and, my mother and my brothers and the people like that. Because it also becomes easier once everyone starts having kids, because then it becomes about the kids. I get, my brother that lives in New Jersey I'll get Amazon packages all December long for these two for Christmas, because they just love buying shit for them, like Christmas gifts for the kids. But like, the adults we just don't do that anymore. It's all awkward. It's like you're asking what they want, then they know what they're getting. Like, what's the point? I'm buying you a fucking, so I don't know.
We started doing, with my one side of the family, we started doing this like Secret Santa type thing where, you'd put all the names in a hat and then you pick out.
Yeah, we do that too.
But the problem with this is, like, the last year I got somebody and all they wanted was like Amazon gift cards. And then we opened gifts and everybody just gave each other gift cards. And I was like, what the fuck are we doing then? Like, how about I just take this $20 and put it back in my pocket and we don't bother? Right. What are we doing here?
We're all giving each other $20. We're all giving each other $20.
Yeah, why don't we get in a circle, put the chairs in a circle, and one person starts at the 20 and they move it all around, and then at the end of the day, everybody has their $20. Great. Okay.
We're not just giving each other $20, but we're giving each other $20 that we could only specifically spend in certain places.
Right. What are we doing?
Which is even worse. No, what we do with Brittany's family on Christmas Eve, like her extended family, they do the game, the gimmick with the game.
Oh, the white elephant game or whatever.
Yeah. And then you pick, and then you can steal.
Yeah.
But the gift can only be stolen twice.
Right, we do that, and I actually still enjoy that. That's still a lot of fun.
Well, it's fun. You got to have strategy. Like this year, we had numbers back to back, me and Brittany. So it was easy to strategize. There was this nice cooking pot that we wanted that someone had. So I'm like, look,
we work together here.
I'll steal it, and then you're right after me. So you steal it from me, and then it's locked. Then we have it. You see? So
we do like an hour long game. Like we do where you're rolling dice for an hour, basically. So you really got to play it up. You really got to play it up.
You got different house rules. Rules.
Right.
It's this one. An item can only be stolen twice.
Interesting.
So if we have numbers close to each other, by luck of the draw, we know that we can guarantee ourselves at least one item, because the person that goes first can steal it, and then the other person steals it from the other. You know, see what I'm saying? From the other member of the couple. Now you have that item. Now you're locked in. So, but that's it's all right, because you get gimmicky with the game. You can have the problem with her family is half the people just bring like bottles of whiskey as the gift, and that doesn't do either one of us.
Right, like, oh, good.
So it's like, then we're just begging someone to take it. Like, oh, I got this fucking Jack Daniels, whatever the fuck this is, Black Johnny Walker, fucking whatever color.
You can send that over to me. I got a Johnny Walker. You can send that over to me if you want, but I'll take that.
And I'm begging someone to take it from me, because I have no use for it, but I don't even remember what the original. Oh, gifts. I don't like getting them. That's the answer.
Yeah, gifts. Getting gifts stink. Giving people gifts, I enjoy. I still enjoy doing that, and that's why I've always told people.
What excites me these days is a cooking pot. That's what excites me.
Right. I ask for basketball socks.
What a nice pot. What a nice pot.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah. The things I can cook.
Make a gravy in there. Yeah.
Right. Well, hey, this works out here. Alex says I need to buy a white elephant gift. Can you guys pitch me some ideas? A pot, a cooking pot.
Sea monkeys.
Yeah, if you're taking it from us, sea monkeys, socks, and a pot.
Yeah.
There you go.
A cooking pot. Yes. Not pot, not like marijuana.
No, none of that shit around here anymore. No,
depends on the party, I guess.
Yeah.
Your grandma taking that out of the pile.
Yeah, probably not. Tim says, what's the most underrated? Oh, speaking of the white elephant thing, because I said we play like the multiple rounds or whatever. We also put like a bunch of gifts on there. So everybody will bring like 10 gifts or whatever. We all throw them onto a table and you roll the dice and do all that sort of stuff. And it's all about like how you wrap it and the weights and the ratio and what the wrap looks like or whatever. And this, I was like 5, and every fucking Christmas it gets brought up. Somebody had a box of something, and I just decided that I wanted that. I wanted it. This one box, I had it in my hand. I wanted it. And people kept stealing it from me, and I kept crying, and then I would take it back, and someone would steal it from me, and then I was crying, and then I hid it under the table so nobody would steal it from me, and then everybody called me out for hiding it or whatever, and then eventually it got stolen from me, and I'm like stomping out of the room. My parents had to bring me back, and eventually they opened it up, and it was Kleenex. It was a box of Kleenex.
Yeah.
But still, to this day, I'm 36, and they go, "Oh, Rich, this is a bottle of Kleenex," and I'm like, all right, I get it, all right, fine.
And that gave you the complex you have to this day.
Yes,
of not wanting
right.
to get...
I now realize. Hold on a minute. Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
That's what caused.
That's free. You, some people pay for that shit. Some people had to go 9 weeks of therapy. I just got it right there. Thank you. Yeah. Wow.
Dr. Lanza. I
feel like I'm a new man.
You need a couch.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a new man now. All right. A couple more here. Tim says, what's the most underrated Christmas dinner item and what's the most overrated? See, I don't think you could do this because everybody does different things. Like, I don't know. Like, what I do or what I eat is probably way different than what you eat, I would imagine, on Christmas. It's not like a Thanksgiving thing where we all kind of eat the same shit.
Well, what's the... I would say that roasting chestnuts is extremely overrated.
I've never roasted a chestnut in my life.
Roasted chestnuts stink.
Does anybody... do you know people that roast chestnuts?
Yeah, my father used to.
Really?
Yeah. He loved roasted chestnuts. They would like pop. They'd pop open when.
No, I'd like to try it, but I don't even know how to. Yeah, I don't even know how to begin roasting a chestnut.
It stinks. Don't even bother.
I mean, they don't look good at all. They look terrible.
Eggnog stinks.
Oh, see, I'm pro eggnog, so that's I'm pro eggnog.
Well, you liquor it up.
Not all the time, but sometimes.
What else is a Christmassy kind of food that I can?
Yeah, like a lot of people do the ham, but I don't really do ham anymore. Like at this point, we do like a prime rib or something like that, or some good, steak or something like that. And then just kind of sides. Like, I know some people, like my one side of the family, my former uncle, estranged from the family, I think he has since passed away. He was very Italian. So we would have like very good Italian food on Christmas Eve every year. And that was always fantastic.
Like a baked ziti.
Oh yeah. He went crazy. Yeah. He had a good lasagna, a good baked ziti. If his mother came over, it was good to go. Like he was okay at it, and he kind of passed it down to his wife. But then sometimes you'd show up to Christmas Eve, and his mom would be there, and it was like, let's go, baby. Yeah, because she'd just make all sorts of shit, all sorts of good Italian food. So that's what I appreciate more than anything. I'm looking at roasted chestnuts; they look actually horrific. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to eat any of these.
Nah, they're disgusting.
Do you like rip these things open? And none of this looks good. I'm not roasting any chestnuts.
No, like you roast them and then they like pop open. It's okay. Like pressure.
And you eat the innards. Like, you eat the innards of the roasted chestnut.
Like all warm and fucking slimy. I don't know. It's awful.
No good. Yeah, no good. Yeah, but it's all different. What's the normal Lanza Estate Christmas dinner item?
There's no tradition or anything.
Like, what you cooking this year? What's on the docket this year?
Well, I don't know. I don't cook on Christmas or Thanksgiving because her family. We go to her family and we go to a meal. So I don't cook on Christmas or Thanksgiving. So it's not really up to me.
Yeah.
But this year I will cook on Christmas Eve because nobody cares. The Christmas Eve party with the extended family got moved to this. It got moved to this past weekend, which annoyed me because it was on a Sunday and the Rams were playing the Commanders. So I said, look, we're leaving at 2:30, the latest, and which it turned out not to be a problem because the Cowboys also played in the late window on Sunday, and all the other men were Cowboys, so they were all leaving. So it ended up working.
Okay. Well, what do we move this thing for? What are we doing here?
Okay, so the reason it got moved, I can't get into because
honest
to God, no one's gonna care. But the point is, it got moved from Christmas Eve. It was a ridiculous reason, by the way. It got moved from the traditional Christmas Eve slot to this past Sunday, which was the 17th or something, and from noon to 3. But luckily, the Cowboys and the Rams were playing in the late window, So all the men are like staring at their watches by 2:00, and then we all just got the fuck out of there to get home in time to see our games. So, but the women, a crucial error scheduling that on
that's
Sunday.
sloppy.
I don't know what the fuck they were
that's
thinking.
sloppy shop right there.
And they were all, Brittany wasn't happy either. She wants to watch the Cowboys. But what was funny though is they all got home to watch the Cowboys lose 31-3. So I hope they all had fun with that.
How'd your beloveds do? I don't follow anything, so I have no idea.
Rams won. Yeah, they beat. Huge game with the Saints Thursday. Huge game for both teams.
That's why we're here today. That's why we're here today.
Huge game. Yeah.
Jameson says, any dessert or treat that makes you immediately think of the Christmas holiday. See, you're not a treat dessert guy, so there's probably
I'm not a dessert guy.
Yeah,
not a dessert guy.
It's probably nothing that works.
I rather eat another plate of ham or turkey than eat the dessert. I'm not a dessert guy. Never have been.
Yeah, I am a big dessert guy. I'd forego dinner to just eat dessert if it was up to me. That was my gimmick at the buffets. You were talking about the boy wanting to go to Golden Corral. Like, I'd eat a very light, I'll eat some fucking prime rib or whatever, and then we're right to the dessert tray, right, going crazy desserts. But I don't know. These days it's like, I don't know if I have a particular thing. Anything peppermint works for me. Any sort of chocolate works for me at this point for the holidays. I don't think there's any one particular thing. Like people make there's like this marshmallow thing that my aunt makes that I like. It's like marshmallows and maraschino cherries and cut up pineapples and stuff. That's pretty good. I enjoy that. And then
it's like that flan kind of deal.
Yeah. Everybody calls it something different. I forget what my aunt calls it, like yum yum salad or whatever. I think if you look up any sort of derivative of it, you'll find it. But yeah, it's essentially like you said. What would you call it?
Flan.
Something like that. So it's good. I enjoy it. But then the in-laws make a pistachio dessert that's just like Heath bars and pistachio pudding and stuff, and it's pretty good. Cracker crust and stuff. I like that. But yeah, nothing. I don't know if there's anything in particular that always gets me. Sean says, what's your favorite and least favorite Christmas/holiday commercial? I answered that for him in the Patreon, and I think you and I have talked about this commercial before. The best, the most favorite and least favorite, it's both of the same things. It's the Folgers commercial where the brother and sister are clearly fucking or want to fuck. That one is incredible. That's an all-timer. That is the best. And if you've never seen it, go to the Patreon. It is linked there. Or if you just look up Folgers incest commercial, it comes up immediately. It's really good. It's both my favorite and least favorite. It's so good, but it's also so creepy at the same time. I guess it's a precursor to the Pornhub these days, where it's just every videos about fucking your stepsister and stepbrother. It's like something. I guess it's really weird. It's like everyone. You're like, the other day I was doing a scroll and I was like, I got nothing that's not this. I think I'm good. Like, I'm just gonna skip out. Go to bed or something.
Is anyone not related? Fucking?
Right? Can I just have two people that are not related to one another and don't have to say, we're not blood relatives. I just want to watch. I don't need that. Maybe just like you could just be attracted to each other because you're two attractive people. I don't necessarily need the. Just a lot. It's a lot these days. I don't get what, but the commercial is essentially the brother comes home and makes like a very creepy smile. Then he hugs the sister. They hug for way too long. She stares at him for way too long. She puts a bow on him, and they kind of wink at each other, and it's a lot. And there's a new favorite part of this commercial that I never noticed before, but it's in the comments. They talk about it. So they're brewing up some Folgers coffee, and oh my god, I don't know if you're not a big coffee guy, but like it's not good at all. It's just a generic ass coffee or whatever. But this idea that it like smells up the whole house or whatever. So the idea is that the sister put on the coffee for the brother who was stuck in traveling all night or whatever. So the mom wakes up. They go to the upstairs room where the mom and the dad are sleeping, and the mom wakes up. And in like a sweat, she gets up, she smells the coffee and goes, "He's here." It's so creepy with the idea that like, it's very ominous. It's like she wakes up and goes, "He's here." And it's very weird. And then, they just, the sister and the brother stare at each other for way too long. And then it just fades to black. And you're just like, they're fucking, right?
The sister and the brother portrayed by Natasha Nice and James Dean.
right. And like, I'm not gonna lie, you watch the commercial and you're like, I'd watch these two. Yeah, I'd watch this. You know what I mean? It's like, You know what I mean? Because they would get in. It would be every Pornhub search now where it's like, oh, you know, we're not blood relatives. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to study for my midterms. It's like, it's so weird. It's so,
well, we're not blood relatives, and your hand is stuck in the dryer. So
right, it's so weird. The premise is, what do we've lost the plot here. I think we've really lost the plot.
Really have.
Yeah,
really have.
And the stepmom stuff just as creepy and just as weird. Like, well, your stepfather's not going to be home for another 5 minutes. This is really weird. We shouldn't do this.
You're already sniffing my panties, so
right.
you know they're always sniffing her panties. Right.
The guy's always erect, and the mom's like, "Well, we have to deal with this." It's like, no, we don't. You can just let it go. It's fine. It's probably not gonna last that much longer. Like,
I'll teach you a lesson for sniffing my panties.
Right.
And then she like sucks his dick.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I think he's learning the wrong things from this lesson.
Right. I don't think this is a very positive thing here.
Right.
But, yeah.
This isn't negative reinforcement for your panty sniffing stepson.
Right.
You know.
So weird. All right. Let's do one or two more here. But a lot of these came in, but a lot we have answered in the past, so I'll try to do this. Jake says, Joe, you getting festive in the den? Do you put any lights up in the den?
TLB's got some gimmicks up in the den, yeah. The second tree, some other gimmicks. There's some gimmicks, yeah.
You got some gimmicks.
I had nothing to do with it, but it doesn't bother me, but, you know, I had nothing to do with it.
And then somebody says, is Rich a cut your own tree kind of guy in the same vein as the apple picking escapades? Yes, I am. Of course I am. Of course I drive an hour to go cut a tree and bring it home. So this year I cut 2 trees and brought 2 trees home.
You with a fucking, you're out there with a hacksaw cutting down the fucking tree.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? Why?
It's fantastic. Like, it's great.
What's fantastic? It sounds like labor, manual labor, like that you don't need to partake in. You could just go to a fucking lot and.
Well, I get one other. We get one tree from a lot, but we like to cut our own. It's fun.
Like on the side of the fucking highway, like where are you cutting it down?
No, you go to a Christmas tree farm. You go, you find it.
Did you get the guy to do it? You say, hey, guy, I want that one.
No, that's the fun is picking out your tree, Joe, and getting the saw. And
you picking it out, but you
taking turns cutting it. She goes for.
You could have the dope that works there cut it for you, and then tie it to the roof or whatever. You know, like you don't. Why do you want to do the work of cutting it? That part is what confusing.
I feel like I'm taking this thing from the world. I'm taking it from the ground. I should have to at least put some blood into it. You know what I mean? No, you don't
I understand selecting the tree. That makes sense to me. You want to pick out your own tree, but I don't know if I could have some other dope do the hard work for me. I'm taking that option every time. I don't understand. Do you bring your own saw, or do they provide
no, I don't think you're allowed to bring. I mean, I think it's looked down upon to bring your own saw because some guys roll up and they got like a chainsaw or like a sawzall or whatever, and I'm like, no, hold on a minute. I think you gotta put some labor in there. You need the you need that sort of axe, like the cartoon. I look like Wile E. Coyote or whatever, you know, trying to cut down the tree with this small little axe that takes about 25 minutes or whatever. I probably should just bring my own saw now that I think about it, but no, I think the gimmick is you're supposed to use their saw, not come with your own saw. Because it feels unbecoming to just roll up and go, and you just take it down. It's like, well, you could have just done that. I mean, those people, I feel like you don't need to go an hour to cut your own tree down when you're just going to use a chainsaw anyway. But
so there's etiquette to cutting down. I think,
at least in the places I've gone, they would prefer you just use their saw because it's more formal. You know what I mean? It's more,
to each their own. Whatever you enjoy.
not selling you on it. Not selling you.
I'm never going to cut down my own tree. No, I got the plastic tree in the garage. It gets drug out when she tells me to drag it out. And
you got to fluff it. You got to fluff it a little bit once it's in the box.
Fluff it a little. You got to look. I'm not a fan of the real trees. I don't. They're covered in insects. I don't know. The fucking
we had mites on one of ours, and they were killing all of our indoor plants. Yeah. That wasn't great. Yeah, that was bad. We had to take that tree out and throw it away.
It's no good. Just get a nice plastic. Go down to the Home Depot. Get yourself a nice plastic tree. These things are phenomenal these days. They're not like the shitty old plastic trees you remember when.
I've heard they're quite good these days. Yeah, maybe I need to.
Yeah, they're like, I'm not going to tell you they look real, but they don't look shitty. They look fine. They don't have bugs on them. The needles aren't falling off all over your house. You get a real tree, you're sweeping up needles till April. It's just I
That's a lot.
I can't fucking do. I'm too much of a neat freak for it. I can't have like, nah. So trust me, you'll never look back. Just go down to Lowe's, get yourself a nice. You can, you make a solid wage. So does that nurse. Get yourself, spend a couple $100, get yourself a nice fake tree. And believe me, it's a lot of you're out there with a saw cutting down. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're out there with a saw cutting down a tree. This is ridiculous. This isn't 1938. There's no need for this.
I think that's a good way to end it here. We're a half hour over. We got a lot of other questions as well, mostly the kind of wrestling related stuff about booking, Christmas shows and stuff. I didn't want to necessarily go through all those. I'll answer. I think I'll answer some of those in the comments over there at flagshippatreon.com. But we're a little over time here, so I think it's time to bid adieu. But I want to thank everybody for sending in their questions. Obviously, I had a lot of fun with that segment, and thank you for obviously sticking with us here on a Tuesday, a not our typical day, but we made it work. And that's going to be our last episode until next week. So when we come back, we will have passed the Christmas season. So obviously, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody there. We'll be back, I believe, next Thursday, right? The Thursday the 28th, I think, works for both of us. I know things get a little weird during the holidays, but I think we're pretty good for next Thursday. And that obviously is going to be a huge show, as I think we got to preview World's End. We got to preview Wrestle Kingdom. We got to talk about a lot of New Year's stuff coming up. There's a lot of big shows in Japan for the New Year. So, it's going to be a big one next week because next Thursday then, or 2 Thursdays from now, is the 4th. So that's going to be the actual day of Wrestle Kingdom as well. So, we have to preview all that then on next week's show. So that should be a pretty loaded show for us next week. But obviously, speaking of World's End, flagshippatreon.com, make sure you subscribe because we are going to be here with Instant Reaction Live on the 30th, December 30th, AEW World's End, Instant Reaction Live here. Also, in the next coming days, probably, maybe by the time some of you guys listen to this, the new episode of Bret versus Owen will be out, covering December 1993 in the Bret Hart versus Owen Hart feud. You have the very well-received, continues to get just rave reviews across the wrestling landscape. Your very special Joe Vember to remember Eddie Gilbert, 4-hour plus retrospective. I just finished it yesterday as well. Everything that everyone's been saying about it. It's just phenomenal work. One of the best things that we've ever done, you've ever done, for sure, audio-wise. Just an incredible piece, the Eddie Gilbert retrospective. So make sure you subscribe to that. $5 tier to get the Eddie Gilbert retrospective, as well as the Bret versus Owen series. $10 tier gets you all of our live shows, including live flagships, and the World's End Instant Reaction Live coming up next week as well. But that is it for us. So again, thank you everybody for sticking with us here on this Tuesday. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we will talk to you next week. Take care. Bye.
Hey kids, do you like wrestling? Well, we like wrestling too. We are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of doing a lazy river of wrestling criticism, going through the news and whatever happened in stateside television wrestling. And also, you know what? Sometimes we just like to watch old stuff and talk about that too. Love for you to give us a listen. If you haven't already, we are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.